Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages.
Oh my God.
This is not the sideshow.
Sure ain't.
This is not the undercard.
Show not.
This is the main event.
We are prime time like Dion. How y'all doing out there?
Ryan Baldwin here with my right-hand man sitting on my left-hand side, the one, the only, Mason Shepherd.
The man who is quoted for saying, let me talk to you. Let me talk
to you.
Let me talk to you, baby.
We are back after spring break.
Boom.
And during spring break, thank God,
Stuff happened.
all the sports actually happened.
Stuff went down.
It did.
Wow.
Finally, because 2 weeks ago we were sitting here going like, I don't know.
We were twiddling our thumbs. We were like, what are we supposed to talk about?
So let's start with college basketball.
M&M. The real
March
M&M.
Madness. And madness it has been because
Brackets have been broken.
first round started Thursday.
Yeah.
There were no perfect brackets remaining by Friday. The end of the first round, there was no perfect brackets.
Nope.
Upsets everywhere, with the biggest one obviously being St. Peter's.
Against Kentucky.
And then they beat Murray State to
Yep.
become just the third 15 seed to make it into the Sweet 16. Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good considering when you look at their, I don't even know you can't even call it a gymnasium. When you look at their auditorium, it's like, excuse me, this studio
The
would
high
be
school basketball stadium where they play.
Dude, I think we could say the NTTV studios we do shows in. It's not bigger, but it's half of that size.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, but I mean, hey, it doesn't matter when it comes. This one thing I love about March Madness, and this is what honestly made me fall in love with basketball, was March Madness. We talk about the NFL playoffs, whatever, and college football playoffs. Oh, it's so unpredictable. No. March Madness is the most unpredictable. Okay, besides like World Cups and tournaments and stuff. When we look at American sports and basketball specifically, it is the most unpredictable tournament because
You have to win so many games,
and
there's no margin for error.
Exactly. You can be number one, and this little Seton Hall, like Lord knows where that is, they could beat you.
Yeah.
And you could be done.
Yeah.
And that's the craziest thing, and it's just one of those things where it's like it makes you appreciate the sport more.
And there's a couple of different things that go into it, right? Because
Yeah.
first of all, the only other American sport that does one and dones is the NFL.
Yeah.
And at most, you win the wild card,
Yeah.
divisional, conference, Super Bowl. So at most, you're winning 4 games.
Yeah.
If you
But even those are spread out over
And you
a
get a
period
week,
of
yeah.
time.
So in March Madness, you have to win the round of 64,
Yes.
32,
Yes.
Sweet 16, Elite 8,
Eight,
Final
Four.
Four, and then the championship.
Yeah.
6 games in a row.
But there are a lot.
Yes, because you play like the first round 1 and 2, you have 1 day in between.
Yes.
You play round 1,
Round
day in
2.
between, round 2. Then you have like a week. And then it's Sweet 16, day, Elite 8. And then Final Four. And then I think they do a week after the Final Four. But
yeah.
the thing is, it's not like a majority. I would say, I don't know the exact stat, but I got to think like 95% of these players will never sniff an NBA court.
No.
So
They
that's
usually don't. Just because
even on the
just
big
because
teams,
the tournament doesn't care about whether you're small or not doesn't mean the professional sports don't.
Right. And like even the big teams, like even the 1 seeds,
Yeah.
they're not like stacked with NBA talent.
No, but I think that's the thing.
And
That's kind of the thing about basketball that there's always been in the sense of like big. Because, okay, look at one of the greatest of all time, Shaq, right? What school did he go to? LSU. Are they known for putting out basketball players besides him? No.
And that's the other thing too. When you're a college player, you don't have the consistency of an NBA player,
That's
right?
true, yeah.
And that's how you get somebody like St. Peter's upsetting Kentucky. Is sometimes St. Peter's just has it on,
Yeah.
and if you don't show up or if you have a bad game, you can be out.
Yeah.
It's hard to not call them the best team because obviously they ended the best team, but the team that wins most often is the most consistent team over 6 games.
Yeah.
Sometimes you end up with a team that just clearly is just bigger, stronger, more physical.
Yeah.
And they are on. And even if you're both on, if they're just that much bigger and stronger,
Yeah.
you're not
There's
going to
nothing
win.
you can do.
Yeah, there's
It's
nothing you
like
can do.
Jordan with the Pistons.
Yeah. But in a when you saw Kentucky versus St. Peter's, Kentucky didn't bring it. St. Peter's did.
And they knocked Kentucky
and
out.
they knocked Kentucky out. And then they beat Murray State,
Yeah.
who wasn't as good as Kentucky, but still had a good showing. So, and that's the other thing I like about college basketball, too, sometimes, is that it's the great equalizer. Because remember, these are kids. These are, a lot of these
people
guys are
who
younger.
are like,
yeah.
well, not your age, but people,
I'm 29. But these
yeah,
guys
but
are
people like
younger than
my
me.
age
Yeah.
and stuff are younger.
Yeah, and these guys are kids, and there's excitement, and
there's atmosphere.
There's
basically.
atmosphere.
You don't get that in the NBA anymore.
Well, and it's because especially like, in the NBA, especially when it comes to playoffs, not saying there's not diehards, but if you're a Warriors fan right now, you expect to be in the playoffs.
Exactly.
Round one of the playoffs is not a big deal.
No.
Round one of the March Madness tournament is a huge deal
Every
for
round
most of these
and
teams.
I think that's why March Madness is so important to us as sports fans, because every round is important. Because with the NBA, it's like, okay, yeah, you have to play this team consistently, like till you win 5, but at the same time, it's like if you're playing, let's put it this way, if you're the Warriors and you're playing the Raptors, shout out my Canadians, and you're playing the Raptors, we know how that series is going to go.
Right, but like also, some of these teams like Gonzaga expects to be there now.
Yeah,
but I would say for a majority of these teams, they don't get to go very often.
No, they don't.
This is St. Peter's first trip, I believe. And to then, so it's a big deal for their fans.
Yeah.
And then for them to put up 2 wins, it's just mind-blowing. And like the amount of excitement you get from fans and stuff is crazy. Even the amount of fans we had at UNT last night against Virginia at the Super Pit was crazy. There's a lot of UVA fans there, but it was a pretty full stadium for just an NIT game. So
did we win that game?
No, we lost in overtime. It was sad.
So okay, I'm because forgive me, I haven't really been keeping up with everything. Folks on NFL news and wrestling news, shocker, right? I know, but so with UNT, we got knocked out of conference first, right?
Yes, we lost in the conference semifinals to Louisiana Tech.
Yeah,
and
so we couldn't advance to the March Madness.
It was a super, super outside chance to make the March Madness tournament. But
and
because
then,
we were the regular season champions for CUSA, we were the automatic qualifier to the NIT.
But we
won in the first round against Texas State in overtime, and then barely lost to Virginia, which, considering Virginia is only 3 years removed from winning the NCAA tournament, the fact that you played them to overtime and nearly won, it's solid.
Shows how good we were, and we had a good season.
Yeah,
so.
and it was a definite mismatch in terms of program overall, because Virginia is a much more storied program, and they play in the ACC, a much heavier basketball conference
than CUSA.
So
but anyway,
very good year for UNT overall.
Well, without a doubt, we have something we can be proud of. Football team, take notes. Anyway, so, but no, man, I think that's one of the best things about March Madness is you don't know who's going to take what, and it's like you said, you have to be prepared.
Yeah,
there is no this is Bama playing Cincinnati. We know who's going to win. No. If you think that you're going to run us off because we're smaller than you, you will lose.
Yeah.
And you do. And I think that's one of the best things about it. And I think we don't get more Cinderella stories or Cinderella champions, in my opinion, than we do with college basketball and March Madness and the NCAA college basketball championship. Because, like you said earlier, when in terms of the draft, but also, in terms of winning the title, big teams, they don't always win. As a matter of fact, it is more natural to see a Villanova or a Gonzaga or whatever win than a Baylor who won, I think, last year. So it's more natural to see those type of things.
And it's one of those things where it's you don't see as many off days in college football, right? Like
there's not a lot.
And because maybe it's your sample size is smaller, but also, when was the last time we when you have 22 starters, one person have an off day, like a receiver dropping 3-4 balls. Well, there's 3 other receivers and a tight end that the QB can throw through. When your shooting guard has a bad day, it's hard to recover from that. Like when your star guard or star forward is having is having an off day. That completely, derails the game.
I think with basketball, in terms of on-court psychology and in the psychology behind the sport, in football, like you said, for example, with our Cowboys, who we'll get to later, we could have CD have a bad game, but we know we've got Michael Gallup, and Gallup can cover the slack. We'd be like, what was wrong with CD? But we can still win. Because even though we've put more emphasis on CD is the star, right? Well, you know what I mean. With that, he's the star. He's the more known name. He's more talented, you could say. That doesn't mean he's always going to play well, and someone can pick up the slack for him, and then that can enhance their status. But in basketball, we have always put emphasis on, okay, the starters are usually the stars. Mm-hmm. Everybody else is usually meh.
Yeah.
And so when you have emphasis mentally on who's a star and who's not, because basketball, even though it's a team sport, it's very individual heavy. Because one individual can help carry a team. It's rare, but the king can do it. But, it's very rare, but it can happen.
If Luka has a bad game, it drastically decreases the amount of game, or it drastically decreases your percentage to win versus CeeDee Lamb having a bad game.
Facts. Yeah.
Just because, and maybe you could say, I wouldn't say Dak is the star of the team, but, in terms of usage,
in terms of usage, and I would, in terms of who's the face of that team, it's Dak.
But even if Dak has a bad game, or maybe it's not Dak, because maybe the Cowboys aren't a good example because they weren't a bad. But when Stafford had a bad
receivers,
game,
they were a good example. But quarterbacks, no.
When Stafford had a bad game, the team around him was good enough that it didn't matter as much.
Yeah, it's true.
And in college basketball, especially in college basketball, the team around you is not always good enough to make up if your star player is.
It's like what you said. A lot of these kids will never sniff the NBA. And so, no, but here's the thing. I also think the reason why a lot of people never sniff the NBA. Okay, let's compare the NBA and the NFL, right? With the NFL, besides Canadian football, maybe arena football, and maybe the XFL, but we don't really count that one. There are no other opportunities to play football in the sense of if you want real football, because there's a flag football league, but let's be honest, nobody's paying anybody to see that. But there's no opportunity to do that. So teams will feel like, okay, this kid may not have been the best, but we'll take him. He can get experience, blah, blah, blah. In the NBA, owners can be like, he can go somewhere, get experience, and we can get him later.
Get him overseas.
Exactly.
Play,
it's kind of like, Ryan's going to hate this. He's just heard it. But, which doesn't make sense with the time frame. But, like with wrestling, which will be on later in the show, you have an indie scene where you have these wrestlers, they don't get signed by WWE or AEW, but they get to hone their craft, if they're good enough, to be on different independent promotions that maybe not that are not televised, but they can get that experience. That's the same thing with the NBA. The G League, even though they're televised, but the G League and is it G League or in there a D League or
the D League is the G League.
I was making sure
but you go overseas or you play in Australia or in Europe,
and owners feel like, okay, this guy can get more experience later, and then we can bring him in, and especially getting someone from overseas, because a lot of people don't know this. Just because you're a star overseas doesn't mean you're a star here, so they can still pay you cheap.
True.
And get you cheap. But that's why they feel like, okay, he can go get experience. We don't need to get him now. And I think that's the big difference. And I think that's why, and we've talked about this. In my opinion, basketball's a lot harder to play from a psychological standpoint because if you're a football guy, the chances of you, standing out are pretty slim. And you know that if it doesn't work out, you can go be like a car salesman or what. You can be the typical guy who could say, I played football in college, never made it to the pros, but I'm living a regular life. With basketball, it's either I am a star or I'm not. And even though that may not be the case, because there's 6-man awards and stuff like that, you have to get to the NBA to be like, okay, I'm a good 6-man. That means something.
Right.
Because you just said it. In college, it doesn't. It doesn't really mean anything to be a good 6-man. Even though it's good to have that, no one's going like, yeah, man, the Michigan Wolverines, they've got their star point guard and shooting guard and their power forward's fantastic, but that 6-man, no one's looking at that.
Yeah.
And I think because there's so many more opportunities for these guys to go get experience, that's why people can be like, okay, we don't need him now.
Right.
We can get him later. We don't need to spend money on this kid now.
Yeah. Well, so that sets up the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
In the West, Gonzaga. The West is the only part of the bracket where everything actually shaked out, probably how people expected. You have Gonzaga versus Arkansas, 1-4, and then Texas Tech versus Duke, 3-2. I kind of hope Duke wins it all just because I like Coach K, and I want him to it's his last dance. I would like, just have that win.
Wasn't he in some controversy not too long ago?
Coach K? Maybe. I haven't kept up
Duke
with it.
had something going on with him. It was something. I can't remember. But I mean, I've never had a problem with Coach K. I think besides whatever the controversy was, I can't remember what it was. But I've never had a problem with Coach K. Wouldn't he be okay? Would it be him or Nick, or would it be him or John Calipari that's the Nick Saban of college basketball? See, that's the hard one.
That is tough. I'm
Now, if we include men's and women's, then the UConn women's head coach who's definitely.
I think Coach K, because he's got like over 1,100 wins when I checked, and he's got a 78% win percentage as a head coach. That's pretty good.
It's fantastic.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's average. It's all right.
In the East, North Carolina upset Baylor.
Yep.
They'll take on UCLA, and then Purdue will take on the high and mighty St. Peter's Peacocks.
Yep.
Which I'm not gonna lie, I'm rooting St. Peter's all the way now.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They ruined my bracket, but I want them. In the South, Arizona versus Houston. Houston being the 5 seed took down Illinois. Just a slight upset there. I had Houston in the Final Four, I believe. So I'm fingers crossed on that one. And then Michigan upset Colorado State and Tennessee, and the Wolverines will take on Villanova in the other match in the South.
That is scary.
Yeah, Michigan looking pretty good. And then Midwest, Kansas will take on Providence. And Iowa State, who upset LSU and Wisconsin, will take on Miami, who upset USC and Auburn. That's an 11-10 matchup. I don't remember the last time. I'm sure we've had one, but
yeah,
I don't remember the last time there's been an 11-10 matchup in a Sweet 16. So all good games.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun to watch. I'm looking forward to it over the weekend.
I know
Sweet
you definitely are.
Elite 8. And so, yeah, this whole segment is basically what we missed during spring break.
Pretty much.
So then the next big one was all of a sudden NFL free agency absolutely exploded. Starting off, I think the first one was Aaron Rodgers. So, no, the first one was Russell Wilson, I think.
Wilson. I don't count Rodgers only just because we talked about this off camera. Where else was he going to go? Because we were talking about how other teams were not going to give him what he asked for, and he was going to stay in Green Bay. So Rodgers, in my opinion, we don't need to talk about him. He was going to stay anyway.
But they did lose Devontae Adams, the Packers did, who are going to Raiders.
That was huge.
Now, because that makes the Raiders look really interesting.
And it could make Derek Carr look better.
I'm still not sold on Carr.
No one is. One year he could be the league MVP,
yes,
and the next
so good, and then he gets to the playoffs and just or week to week, he just looks so iffy week to week. But if you get a consistent Derek Carr around, and you got Devontae Adams there, and they desperately needed a receiver.
Oh
too,
yeah,
after all
that's what I'm saying.
After all the trouble
this is going to make Derek Carr look better.
They made the playoffs, right? Or did they just miss out? No, they just missed out.
They just missed out.
But they missed out with without their top 2 receivers.
Yeah, they just missed out. They had a chance. This is my thing with Derek Carr. He is, in my opinion, okay, in I guess you could say the 2010s, because we can't count the 2000s before that. In the 2010s, even though all the 2000s OGs, Rodgers, Brady, even though they got drafted in the 90s, you know what I mean? Like, that's when they started doing most of their winning was 2000s. Rodgers, Brady, Breeze, Mannings, really both of them, whatever, Roethlisberger. In the 2010s, our quarterbacks, who would they be more so? In the sense, because I'm comparing Derek Carr to someone who's in the 2000s list, but it's like one of those guys that's like, like he's just when you look at him.
From the 2000s?
Who's like 2010s, who's like top tier. Or is it just? But could we not do that because Rodgers and all them have played for so long? There's never been any quarterbacks to reach their level to that point. Because just so it can be a little bit clear, what I'm going for is I view Derek Carr as like a Matt Ryan or a Phillip Rivers in the sense of like he's got the potential.
Yeah.
Doesn't really, and I go
Honestly,
more Matt Ryan.
I think Romo. He had plenty of potential. He had to play the tee, but he would choke. Same thing as Derek Carr. He had pieces around him.
You're right, because Carr throws a lot of solid team.
Yeah, and then like you'd have moments where I'm like, I can't believe Romo just did that. That was amazing. And then you had moments where it's like, I can't believe Romo just did that. That was awful.
Yeah, no, I can could see that. Honestly, if we're gonna be honest, the Raiders organization does remind me a lot of Dallas.
Oh, we'll get to Dallas.
Oh boy, yeah, how that went. But no, I agree with you. I think you know what, you're right. I think Derek Carr has just become Romo, where it's just one of those things where he wants to be better. I don't know if Romo ever wanted to be better personally, but I think Carr wants to be better. He just can't get over that hump, and it's really gonna hurt him because he had a chance to be MVP, and then that so. But that's huge getting Devontae Adams. As far as Russell Wilson, I've said this. Of course, I think, Jose brought up some good points. We talked about this off camera. Why it may be easier to say Seattle won, even though clearly, no. It was still...
I'm pretty sure the Broncos
still
won.
Denver.
But he's
Russell
a Broncos
Wilson
fan, just is awful. Unless Russell Wilson is absolutely awful.
Which is highly unlikely.
At worst, Seattle won if Russell Wilson is not better than Teddy Bridgewater. I don't know how Russell Wilson can not be better than Teddy Bridgewater, but that's what Broncos are betting on, right? They're like, we were pretty close to the playoffs with Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah.
If we get Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson that can play like Russell Wilson, we've got the pieces. And they added, I think, didn't they add No,
that was the Bills.
Khalil. They added Khalil Mack, right?
Look that up. I don't know if they got Khalil. If they did, that's huge. Which I would take Khalil Mack over Von Miller anyway, just because Miller's a lot older.
Khalil Mack went to the Chargers. I thought. Who did I thought the Broncos got somebody too. I thought the Broncos made another move. I don't think
they've gotten. No, it's
they
just
made
been
some other move.
But yeah. But no, with Russell, the only problem with Russell going to Denver is he's going to be dealing with an offensive line that's not better than the one that he dealt with in Seattle.
No, but you can start. Not this year. You're not going to have draft picks. But
not a chance.
Maybe I think they signed a lineman or something.
No. I know what it is. Broncos got Randy Gregory. That's what it
right.
was.
Yes, that was the other one that made me.
Because I was thinking about because when you mentioned the Broncos draft picks, that helped me think because people were talking about how they were going to swoop in and take one of Dallas's spots, and then instead of that, they took one of Dallas's players. By the way, Denver, I don't like you. I never have, ever. But I love Shannon Sharp and Terrell Davis.
And they got DJ Jones, who's an excellent run stopper. So the defense might as well just be a... if you're thinking Russell Wilson can do even decently with an offensive line, maybe you get an offensive lineman here in the draft.
Yeah.
The defense looks so good.
Well, here's the thing, and you can equate it back to Peyton Manning. That offensive line wasn't very good when he played his final season there. Where did they get to?
Super Bowl, baby.
What did they do?
Win it.
Exactly. So, yeah. So
defense wins championships, as we saw in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's my point. So, I think but I still think Russ will be better off.
I think so too. And if nothing else, he's out of Seattle where he didn't want to be anymore.
Yeah. But at least he was nice about it.
Yeah.
Michael Bennett, Richard Sherman, everybody else who left was like that place.
Bye.
So, Earl Thomas was the best one though. Flipped Pete Carroll off.
Ugh.
So, but no, in all seriousness, I think this is a good move for Russ.
Yep.
And good for him.
And so the QB carousel continued because Brady spent 2 months with the wife and kids. Who's like, nope, give me back to football.
I rolled my eyes at that because I was just like, I don't care in the sense of like, I knew because everybody was like, well, the GOAT is retired. I was like, oh, you rubes.
Guess
you really
who's back?
I was like, you rubes. You really think he was going to retire on a loss?
I thought
real.
I figured he was retiring to get out of his contract early and nicely and just kind of retire and go to somewhere else. But
nope, he's going to be a Buck.
He's going to be a Buck again.
I was like, you rubes. You really fell for that. No, he wasn't retiring. So, whatever. I mean, good for Tom, I guess. Whatever. I don't care.
And then
quarterbacks.
Today we have Falcons trade Ryan to the Colts and add Mariota, which basically just tells me these two are either looking for a quarterback in the draft this year or next year, because there's no way the Colts are looking at Matt Ryan as a long-term option. And there's no way the Falcons are looking at Mariota as a long-term option.
No, Mariota had a chance to prove his worth, and he bombed that.
Yes. So these are teams that are like, man, we just need a court, because Carson Wentz went to the now Washington Commanders.
Oh, that name sucks.
Yeah. And so just I don't That was a really baffling move to me because I don't know that Wentz is that much of a upgrade over Heineke.
He's not.
And if
the only upgrade he is over Heineke is the literal upgrade, the fact that he's taller.
Yeah,
that's the only upgrade.
So it's not like adding
Drew Brees or anybody.
Yeah, it's not like adding Carson Wentz to your squad made you that much better. It's not like you're all of a sudden going to make a run in the NFC East because you have Carson Wentz.
I think what a lot of owners do, because I've seen it with Jerry, and I'm pretty sure other owners do this. I don't even think a lot of owners pay attention to tape or footage. I think they hear NFL football media talking about how Carson Wentz is great, and then they're like, okay, let's sign the guy. I hear he's great. Just like with Brock Osweiler. You can't tell me Osweiler was worth $70 million guaranteed to the Texans, but he had a couple good games in I think it was Miami where he was playing earlier.
Maybe.
Yeah, he had a couple good games in Miami, and people started hearing about him, and then it was all of a sudden, we got to get Brock Osweiler for $70 million. We'll give him that much money, which was Houston is just destined to sink their team anyway.
Well, speaking of Houston and getting a lot of money, Deshaun Watson decided he would go to Cleveland.
$130 million.
The Cleveland Browns.
Over 5 years with Cleveland.
Now, here's the interesting thing about that.
Yeah.
Because basically, nobody wanted to get Deshaun Watson until his sexual assault cases were figured out. They're not completely figured out.
Well, figured out in the sense of we won't be wasting money because he'll be going to prison.
Well, they might still be wasting money.
Yeah, because he's going to be suspended.
Yes, for anyone that doesn't know, the sexual assault cases are not going to be filed criminally.
They're going to be civil.
They're going to be civil. That can be paid off. But the NFL could still suspend him.
They are. It's not a could.
And I can't imagine that they wouldn't. Yeah. So you could still be losing him for half a season.
Because what are they? Because and I talked to my dad about this. They're going to suspend him because does the NFL? Roger Goodell is an idiot, but he's not stupid enough to have a guy. Because here's the thing, and I know how much you hate this, but we're not going to turn this into like political or too social. This is around sports. When you have an athlete like that, who's from now on going to be polarizing, because some people are like, oh, he's one of the greatest in the modern era, which he is. And then it's like, well, he's a scumbag human being, right? So, and it's one of these where like, did he or did he not? There'll be documentaries made about it, the Deshaun Watson trials, whatever. Yeah. With that looming over his head and what he did, this isn't Michael Vick and dogfighting. This isn't, domestic abuse. This is sexual assault. If the NFL, which they're not, would be stupid enough to be like, well, you sat out a whole year, which of course you were going to do because you weren't going to play anyway. So, yeah, we're just going to let you go ahead and play. And he had this go on. Think about the PR. Just think about how bad that would be. They're going to suspend him. That's obvious.
So the only thing that concerns me is that the NFL could be like, what are you going to do about it? Like, not watch the NFL?
Exactly.
Because that seems like an NFL type move.
It is, but at the same time, you have to remember that the NFL has already had a bad image with their women viewers. Because here's the thing, folks. A lot more women view the NFL than we think. And the NFL loves money. It's a business, just like everybody does. And they would not want to PO their women viewers by having this guy on the field at the start of the season, because that wouldn't look right, because they've already been in trouble with having that New York Giants kicker who beat his wife to the point when they were at the Pro Bowl in Hawaii, she and her son had to stay in a separate hotel just so he wouldn't get a hold of her again. They didn't do anything about that, and that put a sour taste in people's mouths when they found out about it because it was hidden for a while. And then with the Ray Rice stuff and all this other stuff, the NFL has handled a lot of stuff so poorly, they can't afford to just be like, yeah, well, we're going to put this guy back out there. But anyway, Watson going to Cleveland when he is able to play. They've got Kareem Hunt still. They've got Chubb Rock still. They've got David Njoku. They've got Amari Cooper now. They lost Landry, but...
My thing is, you're looking at... I'm assuming that they're going to suspend him for 8 games. Call it half a season.
More than likely.
He has not played in the NFL at that point, if he is suspended like when you're going to it, it's 8 games.
Yeah.
He will have not played in the NFL for a season and a half.
Yeah.
At game speed.
Yeah.
there's no guarantee that he's
Field rust.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that he's going to be the same after he comes back. You got a 17-game season now, but there's no guarantee that he's going to be the same for 9 games after that. So you are betting, and honestly, there's no guarantee that he's going to be as good. Some players just, if you don't play for a year and a half, you just lose it.
Yeah.
So there's no guarantee that he's going to be the same Deshaun Watson when he steps on the field and afterwards. It is a huge gamble by the Browns, who already basically gambled their entire savings away with Baker Mayfield. So
I think with that, and again, sports-wise speaking, you're right. We don't know what's going to happen. Social speaking, and to accompany sports, a lot of people probably wouldn't want him to be the same Deshaun Watson, just because if he ever made it to the top, people would just be fuming because of what they think of him personally. But anyway, I think that, I think that's one thing everybody's overlooking. People are like, oh, the Browns are going to be great. This guy hasn't played football in a season and a half. We don't know what this guy's going to play like. So, we'll see. But no, do I think the Browns are going to go anywhere this year? Probably not. Because that chemistry has to be made, and he's not going to be able, when he comes back, to automatic. Now, if he comes out and picks it up, who knows what's going to happen?
I mean,
but see, here's
they're
the
a Super
thing.
Bowl team if he's Deshaun Watson, easily.
Yeah,
if he's Deshaun Watson,
and that makes
he's a
it
Super Bowl
more
team.
interesting because their rival right across the river in Cincy, they're going to make another run. Maybe not next year, but
eventually.
And but they're not going to be pushovers anymore. So, speaking of Cleveland and Ohio and stuff like that, Cleveland's son, who they have rejected multiple times, and I'm not talking about LeBron James because he's the king. I'm talking about Baker Mayfield, who's the court jester. He wanted to go to Indy. That's over with now. And
it'd be hard pressed to find a team that'll sign him at this point. He's gonna play as a starter.
Oh yeah, but see, that guy's got such an ego on him. He's not gonna back up anybody.
Right. So it'll be a thing where somebody's gonna get. I mean, it always happens.
Carolina, I'm calling it.
Somebody gets hurt over the course of the year,
and they call in Baker.
And they're like, Baker, we need you, and he's like,
you know what? I'm calling it now. Carolina's gonna get this kid. Because look,
Carolina.
The Saints re-signed Winston, which I knew they were going to do. And who else?
Garoppolo's still out there.
Yeah, but at the same time,
I'd take Garoppolo over Mayfield.
Oh,
sure.
100%. But I think at the same time, Jimmy G, he'll go somewhere else. Carolina, man, I'm telling you, they're going to pick up Baker Mayfield because
Do they have the money to? They're sitting on the Darnold contract. They're sitting on.
Ooh.
They had the Cam Newton was 1 year.
He was 1 year, yeah.
But they're still sitting on the same Darnold contract.
Oh, that's right. They did pay that clown a whole bunch of money.
They did.
Ooh. But was he? How long? Wasn't Darnold
that was last
1 year?
No, he got traded with like 2 or 3 years. I thought they extended him. Either way.
If they did, then he's not going.
No.
Look, I could see Mayfield here on these few teams. Can't do the 49ers because they believe in Trey Lance. And Baker's not backing anybody up. You know what? Maybe, I don't know why this team just popped in my head, and I don't know how much money they got tied in, but we could see Baker Mayfield don on the old purple, white, and gold. See him as Viking.
I think the Vikings are okay with Kirk Cousins.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know how you can be, but I think they're okay with him.
But no, my thing is, it's just like, I don't know how much money they have tied up in Kirk Cousins, but he might go there. Or maybe we get to see Baker Mayfield in the NFC least, and he's a Giant. I don't know.
Evan Massey on Twitter, per source, the Panthers have come up as a potential contender to trade for QB Baker Mayfield. So you may have
the Panthers have come up to trade for anybody. They need people.
That's true.
They've come up for everybody. I just think Carolina's just probably where he's going to go.
It's hard to
because they're going to be desperate enough to give him what he asked for.
No, who did Pittsburgh just sign?
No, Pittsburgh just aren't they just bumping up Rudolph?
They got Trubisky, right?
They did.
Yeah. They signed Trubisky because they were like, yeah, Mason Rudolph, and then they were like, not Mason Rudolph.
Not Mason Rudolph. We're going to go Mitch Trubisky. So
I don't know how that's any better, but
we all don't, Ryan. We all don't.
Maybe Seattle.
No,
you gonna go with Geno? It's Geno Smith, right? Up there?
Didn't Teddy just go there?
No, Teddy got signed by the Dolphins.
Oh, see, because maybe Seattle does. But see, here's the thing. If Seattle has a brain cell, they'll go get Baker. Because if they want to subsist on Geno, then oh no.
Geno didn't do awful, but he's obviously not you. Maybe they go for a quarterback in the draft.
Maybe.
Because they got some extra picks from that Russell. They got some picks from that Russell Wilson deal.
Yeah, and they're probably, and see, that's what I'm saying. I couldn't see him going there anyway because they're probably going to use those draft picks. Because they have the draft picks, you might as well use them.
Yeah.
Honestly, Baker might have to sit this year out because I just
no.
When I say sit the year, what I mean is, and I should put this in better terms, being a sports personality, I mean he might have to sit the beginning out until somebody gets hurt because, like you just said, Carolina has a whole bunch of money tied up in Darnold. Because the Jets have Mike White, he ain't going anywhere. Texans, they need somebody.
I could see the Texans, yeah.
But they're so good at making bad decisions.
Well, and they have Mills, and I think they'd like, you know what, we can get away with Mills and look for somebody in the draft.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Maybe the Lions. Do you think they're fine with Jared Goff?
Didn't they just tie a whole bunch of money up in him?
They did, but do you think they're happy with him?
No. No, the Lions
I think
aren't
they did.
happy with anybody.
I think they threw a bunch of money at him for some reason.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Baker could go to the Falcons.
Yeah, because do you think the Falcons want to run Josh Rosen for an entire season?
No, I don't even.
Unless they may be looking at it at the draft too, so wouldn't surprise me.
See, that's the thing.
There's just no
there is no
because franchise
people will want to use their draft picks to get somebody better, and they know if they pay Baker Mayfield a whole bunch of money, they can't get a first round superstar, so they're gonna have to pay them a whole bunch of money.
Yeah,
and with their position in the draft, since they were one of the worst teams. Falcons aren't in a position to do that. The Panthers aren't in a position to do that. Baker is really stuck because there's really nowhere for him to land because he's doing us. I want to go here, and no teams are like.
Well, here's the deal. He's still on the roster for the Browns.
Yeah, we just know he won't be for long.
Well, I mean, they could if they don't get something they like for him, they could cut him, or they could keep him as a backup.
Baker's not being a backup.
No, but he won't have a choice.
No, he won't. Yeah,
he's under contract. If he doesn't get a cut or draft, he doesn't have a choice.
I think I see what might happen. He's going to stay in Cleveland because, like you said, Deshaun's going to be suspended, so he'll stay there, play the 8 games,
and if he's good for 8 games, that increases your trade.
Trade value.
Yeah,
that's probably what he'll do.
If he goes there and is really good for 8 games, you can get something like it behooves the Browns to see what happens with Deshaun. Because, what if he's suspended for a year and you have Baker play for a whole year and he actually ends up playing well?
Yep.
Then you have
increased your
trade value. Or I think, let's see what his contract is. I don't know if it's when his contract ends. So he's an unrestricted free agent after next year. So you wait and see what the NFL does. If it's if it's a whole year suspension, you have Baker for a year, and then he's off your books at that point because he's an unrestricted free agent after that. If he's like in 8 games and he plays well for 8 games, then you have increased trade value. Some team will probably be looking for a quarterback because somebody's going to get injured or something, or some top contender team. What if Dak goes down again?
Oh my!
And the Cowboys are like, man, we're like at the top of the NFC East, but we want to keep it that way.
And isn't Jerry Jones a Baker Mayfield fan?
He is. And if you can just pick him up for a year, or for 9 games because Dak's down, and then he's off your books at the end of the year, that's not a bad trade.
No, it's not.
And if you think you have a chance, which again, I don't think he's actually got a chance, but we'll see. So a lot of interesting options there, and the Cowboys talk does bring us. Because oh my God! So where do we want to start?
Well, we can start where we knew Cooper was out because let's be honest, we all knew that was coming.
Yes, Cooper probably did not want to be here because as soon as he got to the Browns, they restructured his contract straight up.
Yeah,
and he could have done that with the Cowboys, but they didn't. So he obviously just didn't want to be here.
No.
So you lose Cooper, you lose Randy Gregory, who we thought.
We re-signed.
Literally Tuesday, we had him ready to go.
You have no idea how happy I was. I was like, yes, we're keeping Gregory. And then a couple hours later, okay, Broncos have him. I was like, wait, what?
And whatever it was,
Contract fell through.
Yeah,
Here's what happened. What happened was Dallas had given him everything that he asked for in his contract.
Mm-hmm.
Denver said, okay, we'll match that. And at the time when Denver said they would match that, Dallas tried to pull on some stuff. And he said, no,
Denver, I'll just go to Denver.
Yeah, I'll just go to Denver. That's what happened.
Which really hurt.
Yep.
I was not a fan of that one. They did.
I don't think we ever were.
They did re-sign
they re-signed
DeMarcus Lawrence.
But and then
they restructured Dak and Zach Martin, which helped tremendously with cap space.
Yeah, they brought back Van Der Esch for a year.
Yeah,
I hate.
Let's go through what we've got so far on defense. Dorrance Armstrong has re-signed it to Cowboys on
that
deal.
I bet Dorrance Armstrong was the best. That was the happiest day of his life. His name actually made headlines.
Armstrong was a decent player, a
no
good
one
role
pays
player.
attention to him.
Carlos Watkins, another defensive lineman who's pretty good.
But we did get Dante Fowler, which is nice, from Atlanta. We got him.
Yes.
Which I think is a big deal.
We still got some. So let's go with who we have for sure. Malik Hooker re-signed on a 2-year deal with worth $8 million. That was solid. I liked Hooker. He was a good player.
Yeah, he was very good.
On the offense, Michael Gallup was the big one for a 5-year deal worth $62.5 million.
He's not worth that much money.
No, that's what that was concerning.
Once again, Jerry Jones making these bad deals. Gallup gets $62 million
over 5 years.
Over 5 years. I think Dak's contract over years was still just $40 million.
With a $35 million signing bonus last year. $75 million.
$75 million total.
God, I'm not going to let that go.
Of course not.
But he's coming off an ACL injury.
Yep.
There's no guarantee that the Michael Gallup we're going to see this season is going to be anywhere near the Michael Gallup that we've seen before.
And that ACLs, Michael Gallup is still kind of inconsistent.
Yes.
And we thought we were going to keep Cedric. We were like, okay, we're getting rid of Amar. We thought we were going to at least have Cedric. Nope. He's gone.
And here's the biggest head scratcher for me here is Michael Gallup said that he would be willing to play on a 1-year prove-it deal for 2022. So you could have paid him 1 year and say $13 million, 14.
Yes.
And said, show us what you got for another year. Show us that you got, that you're going to be the Michael Gallup that you can be after your ACL injury for a year.
But instead we went 4 years.
5 years.
5 years.
$62.5 million.
$62.5 million, which he is not worth. My God. And then on our offensive line, even though they all, bleh, we don't. Lyle Collins.
So they let Lyle Collins
Connor Williams.
Go. Connor Williams, I'm not horribly upset about.
Okay, you can say that, but now with Connor McGovern's taking his spot.
It's not like Connor McGovern is some oh yeah, I'd take Connor McGovern over Williams in a heartbeat. But
no. And I understand Williams is struggling, but at least because now, Steele's getting moved up to right tackle because Tyron Smith is coming back. Why? I have no idea. But, so, oh my God.
Dalton Schultz was franchise tagged, which I'm okay with. He was a solid tight end.
He's Dak's safety net.
He
is Dak's safety net.
And Lyle Collins to the Bengals.
Yep.
So that's
which only helps them out more.
Yeah. Connor Williams is to the Dolphins. Cedric Wilson goes to the Dolphins. So Noah Brown's a 1-year deal. So right now, your receiving core is CD, Gallup, and Brown.
And what's that Samoan kid's name? It's like he was from Stanford. It's like Simi.
I don't remember.
Fehoko, maybe. It's something like that. But it's him. Why is Noah Brown still there?
He wasn't bad, but if you're looking at this receiving core versus last year's receiving core, you're just scratching your head, right?
Pretty much.
Because you're like,
we've let go of all the talented people.
Yeah.
We said last season, Cedric Wilson. Wow, we didn't know this guy had this talent. Dallas needs to keep him. We're like, okay, Cooper's gone, so we can keep Cedric and Gallup.
Yep.
Nope.
And really, here's the biggest one. maybe the best player on your team last year was your punter, Brian Anger, who's an unrestricted free agent, and you haven't signed him yet. He's like the most consistent player. I think he was a Pro Bowler last year,
He
too.
was.
And you haven't picked him back up. And you have, from what I'm seeing here, as of, I think it was March 21st, which is today. Where are we at? So you were $23 million over the cap heading into the offseason.
Yep.
Updated as of today, you are now $26.9 million under the cap. You have $27 million of cap space. And what have you done with it?
Dallas doesn't do anything.
You have done nothing with it.
Nothing.
And
no major moves in free agency.
Moves. We're
talking to Bobby Wagner. That fell through.
Yes. You have not brought anybody in. You've re-signed some people, but you have not brought anybody in to fill the spaces that have been left by all these players
Besides Dante, God, I just forgot his last name. Fowler.
Yeah.
Besides him.
So and this is what it all comes down to.
Yep.
It is that Jerry Jones is still the owner GM.
Yep.
And because Jerry Jones is the owner GM, he has too much on his plate. And when stuff happens, like all the drama that's come out with him being sued by this woman who claims to be his daughter, which would also be out of wedlock, by the way. This she's claiming to be, she's like 20-something years old, and he's been married to his wife a lot longer than 20-something years.
Yeah.
What other GM in the NFL is dealing with that right now? None. Owners have crap that they're dealing with, but GMs focus on GM things.
Yep.
GMs focus on making moves and making their teams better. The Cowboys GM, Jerry Jones, can't do that because he's got to do owner things and he's got owner problems.
Not only that, he's the president.
He's the president and
owner,
the
GM.
Coaches. Like you think McCarthy has any say on what's going on there? Maybe a little bit, but he's there to be. Just like Jason Garrett, he's there to clap his hands and say yes to Jerry.
The only thing about Mike McCarthy that makes him different from Jason Garrett is because of his stomach. It makes him a little harder to clap his hands together all the time. That's the only difference.
It's truly baffling how we can be $23 million over the cap, make all these moves and restructures all these deals.
My thing is we would be less under the cap and actually be able to kind of pay Bobby Wagner something. If we didn't give Gallup 62.5,
and
over 5 years,
and
my
they
God.
give DeMarcus Lawrence some like ungodly amount of money too. Where was that at?
Oh my God! Why again? I have no idea. Because remember, next year we got to pay Diggs. So
because it doesn't get any easier.
No,
because next year you pay Diggs. Year after that, you pay Parsons.
Yep.
You could have kept Gregory, let go of Lawrence, and moved Micah Parsons to a rusher full time. I know that grinds some people's gears because he's very versatile and I like it, but he's also last year he was the best pass rusher in football as a rookie, the best in terms of getting to the quarterback and making pressure. Didn't always get sacks, but he had a decent amount of sacks for rushing only like half the time.
Yeah, he did, to be honest.
He was one of the best pass rushers in terms of creating pressure and getting to the quarterback. And you could have had him on one side and Gregory on the other. But no.
No, we don't get that anymore.
You re-signed DeMarcus Lawrence, who hasn't played, and they fell in love with him like when he had 1 year, and they just signed him to a 3-year, $40 million contract with $30 million guaranteed. I'm done, dude. I can't
this is making my head hurt legitimately.
Watching what really pisses me off is we had probably our best chance in 20-something years to win a Super Bowl. That team last year, on paper, was probably our best chance.
We were the number one offense.
Yes.
And our defense was pretty good, too.
Yes, you moved your defense from, bottom...
one of the worst...
to mid-tier. Which is first of all, amazing. Just to move it up to mid-tier. And I just... I don't know what to do anymore, man.
Me neither.
I've been watching this team for 24 of my nearly 30 years. And it just never gets any better. Every time you think it starts to get better,
it gets worse.
They pull some crap, and you end up in another situation like this where it's just like, okay, like what are my expectations for this year, right? Because honestly, how am I supposed to look at this and go, we're the favorites to win the NFC East? Are we? I don't even know. What Dak shows up next year? What Zeke shows up next year? Are they going to be able to play because is our line going to be any good? Obviously the receiving core right now is just a straight downgrade.
Oh my God!
Just
that's the downgrade
straight
of all
up. It's a straight downgrade from last year. Let's take a look at this from the offensive side. Receiving core, straight downgrade from last year.
Yep.
Offensive line so far, straight downgrade from last year. Quarterback and running back, it's the same. Tight end,
upgrade.
You franchise tag Dalton Schultz, but it's the same.
Upgrade, but because he upgraded himself.
Yes, because he played well. If he's the same as last year, then fine. But you don't have who was the backup that was pretty good?
Jarwin.
Jarwin was a solid backup. Like I never went in and was like, oh God, Jarwin's out there.
Yeah.
On defensive line, I would call this a downgrade because you lost Gregory.
Who wouldn't, dude?
Linebacking and defensive backs, you're probably about the same, depending on if you sign some people.
Jermaine Kearse, we're all doomed.
You've got on defense still to be signed. You've got Kazee, who's pretty solid. Keanu Neal, who I thought was pretty solid.
Yep.
And Kearse, yeah.
Yep.
So you need those players still.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're on a straight downgrade.
So basically, Dallas will spend that, what did you say, $26.9 million?
Yeah.
They're going to spend that on re-signing those guys.
I would certainly hope so, and they need to do it now because
once again, Dallas has done nothing in free agency but lose people.
And it's, you've got people in the draft. You've got 2 solid players in the draft, but eventually you're going to have to pay them because especially if they continue to improve like they have. Like Diggs, I would say he improved. Does he still have flaws in his game?
Obviously,
sure.
Yeah.
Does he take too many chances? Yes.
Yeah.
Parsons, so far, I have found pretty much no flaws in his game. He's very versatile.
Incredible player, man.
Incredible player, incredible athlete. And I'll be honest, I was shocked that they took him in the first round over a lineman. But I can't complain anymore. I was just like, fine.
Yeah, because what you want,
wanted
with somebody else.
Penei Sewell was really good, and Rashawn Slater for the Chargers was also very good.
Yeah.
And those were 2 tackles, and now you're looking at it going like, well, would I rather have them or Terrence Steele? Yeah. But I just don't know. Like, so now, where do you go in the draft this year? Because you've downgraded.
You still got to go online in this draft.
You have to.
But
you're telling me you're going to run Tyrone Smith, who will be in for like 8 games max. You're going to run
I give him 6.
Biotish at center.
Oh, God.
You're going to run McGovern at one of the guards. You're going to run Zach Martin at the other guard. And then you're going to run Terrence Steele at the tackle. You're telling me that's the offensive line you're going to run out there to protect your $40 million a year quarterback?
Sounds like Dallas to me.
It does, but I'm like, it's insane.
It's insane. But that's the way they like doing things.
Guys, I can't. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about this team because I can sit here and point out all these players like, the Dolphins are making moves.
Yep.
The Dolphins were nowhere near if you look at this team from last year, I think every fan was like, man, we were close. We were there.
Yep.
Figure it out and make the team better.
Dallas never does anything in free agency.
Yeah.
Ever.
They had like one decent year, I think, where they
wasn't that last year?
Yeah, I think that was like where they
brought in Dan Quinn, Neal, and all this stuff. That was literally last year. They haven't done anything since.
And it's just, man, I'm so tired and frustrated and tired of being frustrated about the Cowboys.
Yep.
Aren't
we all?
It's so hard to try and get into a team that just can repeatedly shoots themselves in the foot. Oh, and by the way, Tony Pollard is on the last year of his contract. So you've got some decisions for next year, too.
Cowboy Nation, and I know you guys will support me on this, being a fellow Cowboy. If you talk about setting the seats on fire, if Tony Pollard does not get re-signed, you talk about setting the seats on fire. People will.
But that's the thing, like, right? It's like, I don't even know. You would think that Pollard
So basically what we discovered is that after this year, we will be back over our salary cap again. That's basically what you're telling me. Because we're going to be.
Well, like, I mean, what are you going to do?
Because think about it. You have to pay 3 more members of the defense that contributed pretty well. I'm not saying they're all going to get like $10 million, but
Parsons is going to be another year.
That's
but you're
what
going to have to pay Diggs.
But you're going to have to pay Diggs. That is going to be more than $20 million.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
You're going to have to pay Pollard.
That will be around 10, 15 million. Maybe 20 million on the dot. Maybe.
And then, I just don't see how you can. I honestly don't know how you can keep Pollard unless you cut Zeke.
They might.
That's the only way.
They might have to. But Jerry Jones is so in love with him, I don't know.
Yeah. And again, it all comes back to Jerry Jones and the fact that this man cannot be a general manager and an owner. I don't even think he would be a good general manager if he wasn't the owner based on his moves. But
he's not.
It's clear that with everything going on, with all the drama, that the organization just does not work. And it has not worked since Jerry Jones took over. The only reason he won any Super Bowls is because the team was already in place for him when he took over the team.
Jimmy Johnson.
Yes.
It was because of Jimmy.
It was Jimmy's team, and Jerry Jones took the credit for it.
Yep, and then
he goes, "Did you like those Super Bowls? I hope you did very much.
Goodbye." And then it didn't help Jerry's ego when he won one with Switzer.
Yeah.
But Switzer wasn't really a coach. Switzer just wanted to be there to be friends with everybody. And then Jerry was like, "I've won 3. No one can tell me what to do." Yeah, well, that's a problem.
Yeah. It's just he has not done anything since that last Super Bowl, and the one
except build the stadium.
There is one, and he can't even do that right.
Nope.
Because he built it east-west, and that sun comes right in your eyes. And apparently, by the way, this was hilarious. Dave Barnett, the play-by-play voice of Mean Green basketball, men's basketball, when they were playing at the Star, for the Conference USA tournament, they have court and court.
Yeah.
So you can have multiple games going at the same time, and a big black curtain separating the 2 courts. And the first game, Dave looks at that and goes, "Oh, so Jerry knows how to put up a black curtain here, but we can't put it up at Cowboy Stadium to block the sunlight coming in." And I just about died laughing. Because that's, it's just it is Jerry in a nutshell for 25 years.
When I was playing football, we played it in rain, we played in snow,
it is the
sunlight.
Epitome of
that
Jerry
was Jerry
Jones.
Jones's quote, folks. He was like, you play football in all types of conditions.
It is the epitome of Jerry Jones owning the Cowboys for the last 25 years. We can figure out how to put a curtain in between 2 basketball courts at the Star, but we can't or won't put a curtain to block the sun coming into our players' eyes that drops them a pass in a playoff game. I don't know.
Me neither.
I'm done, man.
Me too.
I'll be honest, Cowboys fans. I don't know what to tell you next year.
Nope.
Except for be very prepared for the possibility that this team does not win the NFC East and doesn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
I could very well see us going 8-9, 7-10.
Yeah.
And missing out on the playoffs. Because we got the schedule. I don't know. Do you want to go over the schedule real quick and see what we're looking at here?
Yeah, I didn't even know we had the schedule yet.
I saw it somewhere. Okay, 2022. So, we get to start off with the Bucks again.
Oh, great.
Then the Bengals.
Oh, no.
Then the Eagles.
Oh, boy.
So right off the bat, you're looking at this going like, okay, I don't think we beat the Bucks. You might be able to beat the Bengals, but I wouldn't. If I'm a bet man, I'm betting on the Bengals. And the Eagles, I think, are going to be the same, if not better than last year.
Potentially.
Depends on how Jalen Hurts plays.
Yeah.
Then you have the Colts, which considering the Cowboys could barely stop the run game against anybody else, I think Jonathan Taylor could very well put up 200 yards on them.
Yeah.
Then you have the Commanders. That's you probably you might win that. You might win that.
Yeah.
Depending on what kind of Carson Wentz shows up. And again, we don't know how the rest of this Cowboys defense
We
shakes
really
out.
don't. And
So-
injuries and stuff
Yeah.
like that, we don't know what's going to happen.
I think the only good news for the defense coming is that Dan Quinn decided to stay.
Yep.
That was huge.
Which he only did, which he wasn't going to do out of deference to McCarthy because, once again, Jerry.
Yes.
My God.
Okay. So these aren't split up by the actual dates. These are home. So
Yeah.
you have Tampa Bay at home, Cincy at home, Philadelphia at home. You obviously have Philly, Washington, and the Giants at home. You'll play the Colts and the Bears. Should beat the Bears, but I thought the same thing about the Broncos last year. The Texans and the Lions. So you should beat.
Oh, boy.
If you're playing at home, you should beat the Commanders, the Giants, the Bears, Texans, Lions. So that's your 5.
I am so scared.
Then away, you obviously play the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Giants. You play the Packers. Big yikes. You play the Rams.
Big yikes.
You play the Titans. Big yikes.
Yikes.
You play the Vikings, who you beat, but you also beat with Cooper Rush. So I don't even know what to think about that game. And then you play the Jaguars. Here's the thing. You might win the NFC East again just because I don't know how the Commanders and the Giants are going to look this year.
Yeah.
You could very easily win the NFC East by being 4-2 if you split games with Philadelphia, which I think is probably likely.
More than likely,
and maybe you
yeah.
split with the Commanders and you beat the Giants twice.
Yeah,
But does that you win the NFC East and then you lose in the first round again because you're playing some team that actually deserves to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, but that's what it sounds like. Dallas, in my opinion, has never had an easy schedule. This is the epitome of not easy.
Yeah, when was the last time that we played? So we're playing Bucks, Bengals. Here's the games that I'm really scared of. Bucks, Bengals.
Yeah.
Packers, Rams.
Yes.
Titans.
Yes.
5 out of your 17. The Colts, I'm also pretty scared of
Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor. So 6 out of your non-divisional games, I'm like, oh my God. And that means that the games against the Bears, Texans, Lions, Jaguars, you cannot afford to lose those games.
Nope.
You cannot afford to lose those games.
Because if you do, we're done.
Yeah.
Because you just named off 7 teams and 7 games that we would have to worry about anyway.
Yeah.
That would automatically make us 10-7.
Yeah.
We hopefully we wouldn't lose all of those games, but there's a good chance we might.
Yeah.
So that would make us
Bucks,
10-7.
Bengals, Colts, Packers, Rams, Titans. 6 games that I'm scared of.
Yeah, 11-6 doesn't sound much better.
So you're already going into the season, those are 6 games where you are not favored.
Yeah, we could easily go 11-6.
And that assumes that you beat,
and that assumes that we
you
beat
win out.
everybody else.
Yeah, because
which we probably won't do.
Obviously, the Cowboys have shown that they can't necessarily beat the teams that they should.
Yep. Yeah, that's.
It is.
It's fun being a Cowboys fan, isn't it? Get to worry, get headaches that make y'all loopy and tired and stuff. That's just great.
Oh, and of course, baseball's back. Baseball signed. A huge deal.
Good for baseball.
Opening day, April 7th. Maybe we'll have. Maybe if the Cowboys go off the rails again, we might have some baseball. But I don't know that the Rangers are going to be that much better either.
Nope.
At least we got the Mavs. We should check on the Mavs. Oh, we were going to do jerseys this week. I forgot about that.
I think we're good.
Yeah, jerseys next week.
Jerseys next week, man.
Jerseys next week. Talk about the Mavs because they're making a good run.
Yeah,
and then you'll have some more wrestling.
Yeah. Preview. Yeah, that's fine.
Are we still missing a Mount Rushmore Sinners?
That can wait, dude.
All right.
That can wait. We don't have to rush it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If we rush it, then we just have to stick to jerseys. Then we have nothing to follow that.
True facts.
So, yeah, we can wait.
All right. Well, we'll take a break, and then we'll bring in our special guests, Jeremiah Russo and Jose Moreno, to talk more wrestling.
Yay. I'm excited. I don't know if Ryan is.
All right. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the main event. Ryan Baldwin here with Mason Shepherd.
Boom.
And our special guest back again, the dynamic duo of wrestling talk, Jeremiah Russo and Jose Moreno.
Hey.
The dynamic duo, more like the Degeneration X of wrestling talk. Me and I can't finish.
That's a
this
good
guy.
start. That's a good start.
Me and Russo
Together
here.
they make up the terrific trio
We're about to work y'all
of
into a
wrestling
shoot.
talk.
About to work y'all all
And
into shoots.
We are a little under 2 weeks out from WrestleMania, right?
Yeah.
It is.
So we've got some storylines to talk about, and I'm gonna let y'all take it away. Have
Bro,
at
I
it.
like the confidence that you say that with, Ryan. You're more confident saying that.
Yeah, it's
So-
almost like I'm sort of kind of paying attention to what's
Even though
going
you
on.
hate this.
Even though he kind of has to be trapped in a room with us.
Like,
for
oh, yeah.
an
Look,
hour.
man,
This
what-
Cody Rhodes fellow. And speaking of that name.
Yeah. Speaking of that,
All
this is
right,
a great
goodbye,
segue.
Ryan. We'll take over now.
Pretty much.
Okay. But okay, so big piece of news. Cody Rhodes officially signed 10 to 14 days ago.
Yeah.
According to reports on Friday.
Yeah.
This is without a doubt the biggest move in wrestling since AJ to WWE in 2016. What are your thoughts, everyone? Because I think this is a great signing for both Cody and for WWE and even
Same.
AEW in a way.
100%. Look, we'll start from the opposite side here. AEW, they had people who liked Cody, but they had people who didn't. Their fan base.
I mean, the EVPs didn't like
Yeah,
Cody.
the EVPs. But that's what I mean. There were people
Yeah.
who still liked Cody, like Jade Cargill came out with her support for
No,
Cody
yeah,
and everything else.
exactly.
So the fan base was turning on him. He didn't want to turn heel, blah, blah, blah. So it's good for them so they can push whoever they want to push, whatever. The WWE, it's great because they need they need people besides NXT, because you and I have talked about how people are like, oh, the WWE doesn't create stars. Well, they are doing it. You're just
Yeah, they
not
are.
watching.
You're not watching it.
And that's on you. But as far as Cody, I've seen mixed reviews. My personal thing is I think it is going to be good for him because I still think, even though Jericho's the one who's using this gimmick in AEW with being the sports entertainer, I think that's what Cody is personally.
Yeah,
I
Cody-
don't see him being, we want wrestling.
Cody-
That's not Cody.
Cody always stuck out like a sore thumb in AEW.
Yes, he
It
did.
was very much like, when you saw Cody Rhodes' matches, when you saw Cody Rhodes' promos, when you saw Cody Rhodes' way, I'm like, I'm watching WWE on AEW.
Exactly. And it was weird because it was like he was trying so hard to, and I know this is a term that has to be corrected for terminology, indie, but he was trying to be like that style, setting himself on fire and doing all that type of stuff.
I think that was just to get the fans to finally like
yeah,
him.
that's what I'm saying.
And here's the thing. I'm sorry, Russo, you're not talking, but
I'm just thinking right now.
but-
That's all
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is.
when Cody, you heard the promo he made that night.
yeah.
There was a moment I think I knew exactly when he wanted to leave AEW.
When?
Right as he was speaking and he was trying to start before he starts referencing all the wrestlers, before he
Yeah.
starts referencing all that BS to get a cheap pop, not a cheap pop,
Yeah.
but you know how to get AEW people to pop. You just say, "Hangman Adam Page rocks," woohoo!
Yeah, that's
so
true.
before that, he was trying to start his promo, and this guy in the crowd kept saying, "Shut the f up!"
I remember
And
that.
they kept,
Yeah.
and they kept yelling it and yelling it, and then he just snapped and started yelling and screaming, and I go, "That's the moment." That's the moment Cody said, no matter how hard I try, no matter what I do, I will never get these people to like me. They want me to be heel, but I'm tired of being heel. And let's be honest, he's been heel his entire career.
Yeah, when he was in the WWE.
You know?
When he was in WWE, he wasn't a baby face until
Until he got the mustache.
the mustache,
Yeah.
and then he kind of started beefing with the Authority, and he got kayfabe fired,
Yeah.
and then he
One of the
became
most ironic
Stardust.
videos.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie,
That video was always so funny. Just after he got fired, it's just that video was everywhere for a month. But
dude. I'm not gonna lie. The date that happened, and of course I was in the 5th grade when it happened. I cried, and I did the crossroads on my bed. I was like, rest in peace, God.
There you
but,
go.
But man, okay, Russo, what do you think?
To me, it's a good move, but at the same time, I just don't like the idea of we're bringing back old guys to WWE. Because I mean,
you know what?
It's kind
That's
of
unique. That's so unique. You always hear there's just all a bunch of old WWE guys. Now, hey, you're right. We're bringing in old AEW guys.
we're bringing in we've already had them. It's like bringing back Goldberg every time it's the crown jewel. It's why,
but,
man? We get tired of it. I'm not saying I'm
Yeah.
not tired of seeing Cody Rhodes. I think it's gonna be great, especially
Yeah.
for Raw, to see some new talent.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's getting to the point where are we just gonna call back everybody to kind of just get more people into this?
I think the difference with Cody Rhodes and Goldberg, there's 2 phrases, which I learned from my boy, James E. Cornette. There's different phrases. One is how can we miss you if you don't go away? WWE fans, we talked about this off camera. WWE fans are different from AEW fans. Some WWE fans don't watch that product. It's been a while since they've probably seen Cody, so that will be exciting for them, right?
And it's just like,
but with Goldberg, it's like we can't miss you if you don't go away because we keep seeing him.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong because that's what they're doing. They're getting McAfee to wrestle, they're getting Austin, and blah blah blah.
Now those are like,
But those are
they were wrestlers.
that's a legend.
They're here for like
That's
maybe
different, and I
like
get what
one
you
or two
mean.
matches.
but Cody's big because like we're witnessing history.
Yeah.
Like we're witnessing something historic right now.
I mean,
like,
we saw Jericho say, "I am a sports entertainer."
Yeah,
I think that
like you have Cody, who not only started AEW,
Yeah.
is an incredible person.
Yeah.
And is an incredible businessman. I mean, what makes you think that Cody doesn't do a partnership with WWE and AEW? That's why I'm like, Cody going to WWE is the best out of all the people from AEW because
without a doubt.
because not only
Until MJF.
until MJF, because not only does he bring in the Nightmare Factory, not only does he bring in television, a television, what's it called, reputation.
Yeah.
Not only does he bring, talent. Not only does he bring, all the young stars from AEW. Here's a crazy thing: they were all scouted by Cody.
Yes.
MJF, Darby Allin, the Pillars,
All of them.
scouted by Cody Rhodes.
Hell, we need him in creative services or not creative services. but
Imagine
yeah.
that.
They
Right?
might put him there.
So Cody could do creative. Cody could also do business between not only just WWE and other companies, but WWE and AEW.
I agree.
And this is also a great
'cause,
time Continue. Sorry.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's building off you. You know how it's like AEW. They're like the forbidden door.
But
gate
then
has
it's
been
not really
open.
forbidden. It's like
It's not.
I know,
Impact will
but
work
it is-
with
it is
anybody.
Because
you know?
it's Impact.
Yeah, you know when it's like Keith Lee, the forbidden
Yeah.
gate has been open. Well,
Oh, no,
now
no, no.
it's kind of like
No, dude,
okay, the other way around.
he messed
WWE
up and
can
he
like.
got Jay White to come out. And Jay White hasn't been on AEW television in how long?
No.
Yeah, but I think
None of the
it's-
Jays.
it's
White,
good.
Lethal. We'll never
Yeah.
see Briscoe.
It's good because it opens up that door where it's like, oh, you betrayed WWE. Now we see someone from AEW come back to WWE. So now they're taking that in mind and they're like, okay, it's not like we're banished.
Yeah.
We can still have an opportunity if we'd like to still go over there.
And that's the thing. The guy who started the company, the guy who started the
Exactly,
revolution,
is
to
doing
be
that.
back, it's
Yeah.
like yes, because this is just so good. Because now Vince can be like, okay, how do they take over there? How do they work over there?
Exactly.
And-
Getting a former EVP is fantastic.
Yeah.
And the thing with Cody is, and I'm going to say this, especially with us talking about it, I think this is one of those cases where Cody Rhodes is not. I mean, he may go back in the future if the WWE thing doesn't work out, but he is not. And you just said it, it's sticking out like a sore thumb. AEW's not for him in the sense of he's because it doesn't matter what he does, he will always be way different than any other person there. I think WWE is just his fit. He just needed to get away from it
He
and
did.
prove.
Realize
But he got better.
He had
proved
to prove his worth.
Yeah, he
Like,
could prove he could talk and work and do all this stuff, which we kind of knew already from the
Yeah.
dashing stuff and whatever. But he had to prove to them, no, I can be Cody Rhodes and be a star.
Yeah.
I don't have to be Stardust
Exactly.
or whatever.
And here's the thing
Yeah.
is Dutch Mantel, who
Yeah.
by far is so relevant. I don't know why the hell
Dutch Mantel is fantastic.
I hate him. I think anytime as a podcaster.
Oh, okay.
As a podcast, that's what I'm saying. Dutch, because ever since the Cody Rhodes stuff has been going on, Dutch Mantel's like, yeah, they're gonna use that Cody boy really wrong. He's not a star. He's half the star Goldust was. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, have you not been watching anything of Cody's work since his work in Japan, his work? Because again,
Even his face mask.
his
and
favorite,
even-
and I was the guy who hated Cody Rhodes for the past
Yeah.
6 years, and then recently this month, and actually I started loving Cody Rhodes when I watched Rhodes to the Top. Right, I was like, "This is a cool ass." dude.
You are one of the few people who
Yeah.
enjoyed that show.
Rhodes to the Top was like it. Literally, I sat there and I was
It
like,
gives you like an insight.
It
'Cause
was
we
better-
see these characters
"It was
on
better
TV.
than Total Divas." Like it showed you like so
I actually
much
like
more.
Total Divas.
Total Divas was I was
Total-
both. I was in both.
Total Divas like had some cool episodes. Like like when John was there, it was cool, right?
Yeah.
Like you watch Total Divas, like you
Nikki
watch
Bella
Keeping Up with
and
the
John.
Kardashians.
Yeah.
When you watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you're there because Kanye's there. And when you watch Total Bellas, it's because Daniel Bryan and John Cena and John Moxley are showing up.
I'm not big on.
Lana was
Or
there.
Rusev and Lana.
I'm never big on just wrestlers doing reality TV in the sense of they can do it. I won't watch
But
it.
Rose to the Top, like I mean, this is gonna be because they're still filming right now.
I thought they
this
got canceled.
They don't know, but like just imagine like because then WWE is owned by has connections with NBC. Why would NBC not want to buy? Because Rose to the Top could be showing literally like his move from AEW to WWE, and that could be one of the most important documentaries
True.
in the history
Yeah,
of
it would.
wrestling. Because
Well, they're going to capitalize on
imagine
that.
if there was a documentary of the day the Outsiders invaded, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? I think I'm gonna be so honest. I'm glad they're kind of teasing Cody for WrestleMania Day, but I think it would have been so amazing that the day Scott Hall died, the first outsider to really invade with Kevin Nash.
Oh, that.
Imagine if Cody came out on the anniversary, like not just it wasn't the anniversary, but just like the day that the outsider died, a new one comes in.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But no, we have to wait until WrestleMania Day. Night 2, by the way. They know what they're doing. They know what they're freaking doing,
I
man.
saw people, and I know you've seen people complaining. Oh, I had to watch 3 hours of Raw.
And I'm like, good. Raw's great. Raw's great right now.
He's actually got a point. Raw has gotten better. I mean, I won't call
I'll
it
be
great,
honest,
but it's watchable.
I've had to step away from Raw,
Listen.
but now how it's going right now, I agree. I've been kind of coming
I've been
back
kind
in
of
a
digging.
little bit.
SmackDown is the show that's like,
And SmackDown became a Raw because
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
It
because
did.
now it's like, oh, what's gonna happen this week? Oh, Rich Holland versus Kofi. Oh, what's gonna happen this week? Oh, Sheamus versus Kofi. Okay, what's gonna happen this week? Oh, Butch versus Kofi.
Right.
Like it's like, and like Ricochet, right? Oh my God,
I marked out when he won the belt.
when he won the
marked
belt,
out.
great, right? But is anyone kind of like, hey, the Intercontinental title hasn't been defended in a while?
Yeah, I'll
it
be honest. I
switched
haven't seen it
switched
since
twice
Yeah.
in like 2 weeks. I'm sitting here and like I love that Sammy held it. I love that like it was great for his character, but why not just have Ricochet take it off of Nakamura and then just have like Sami Zayn still beef with Johnny Knoxville and then have Ricochet and further. By the way, they should do the Razor Ramon IC title thing that Booker T
Suggested,
pitched.
yeah.
They should do that because
Well,
Ricochet is
they're
amazing
probably going
and
to. They need it.
They need a
So,
ladder match. They need to have.
They
ladder
They
need
need
to
it,
have
and they're
open-
going to do something
Listen,
to
we
honor
have
Razor.
2
so.
triple threat tag team matches.
You can add a ladder
I'm
match.
going to fall asleep during those matches.
Facts.
I hope they don't go over long.
Don't we
longer
have a
than 10
Fatal
minutes.
4, or is that the triple threat for the women's? I know both of them.
The women's one,
I'm sorry.
women's
They
is-
should not have had the women's tag team titles at Mania. They should have put Sasha Banks versus Naomi, Sasha Banks versus anything with Sasha Banks.
The women's tag titles. I fall asleep anytime that
It's just not
I fall asleep.
interesting. And
Well,
like I
because-
like Zelina and I like Carmella, but it's
I
not
think
interesting.
I think Zelina would be fantastic staying as a manager.
So yeah, now
Yeah.
that we're speaking about WrestleMania and the
Yeah.
card and Cody Rhodes and all that. Also I never said, but this is Cody Rhodes going to WWE is also a great signing for AEW just because it clears up a lot of space for the money,
yeah.
and on top of that, a little bit more screening time.
yeah,
I like that.
which AEW still not using.
Not using
their
well,
advantage.
but they have more time because Cody would take like 30 minutes up, and also
Yeah,
free advertising.
yeah,
Free
that's true.
advertising. Like I mean, when Cody Rhodes shows up, everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, where's he been for the past 6 years? What's this all elite thing I hear about?" Like
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
But that's when and just like Russo said, that's when AEW appealing to their niche audience
and there you go.
bites
how-
them,
yeah.
because it's like I don't want to see this crap,
No,
or-
not that. It's just like, what's going on? What's this? What's
Exactly.
that? Like,
I
why?
know-
What happened on being the elite?
Yeah, on the WrestleMania, I know we have now Gable Stevenson after he won his title.
He deleted
He-
that tweet. but
You saw the tweet
do,
though.
do you think he'll just be showing up and wave?
So
and
me
leave?
and Mason
we
actually
talked
about
I
this.
said what they might
And I agree.
what they might do because you and all three of us talking said he's going up against Roman at some point,
Yeah.
just not now. I said for one, Fox will get him because Raw's getting Cody, and Fox likes to get the shooters anyway, because that's why Shayna and Ronda are there, and they are not letting him go over there to Raw, and they've got Cody.
Yeah.
So he's going to be on SmackDown for one.
No, he already got drafted by Raw.
Oh, you're right. I
he
forgot
got
about
drafted by
that.
Raw.
But
Here's
then
what I
the-
think.
But then the superstar shakeup. You know how that works.
Here's what I think.
Yeah.
Raw after Mania. Roman has both belts. He's bragging.
That's facts.
Gable
That's
comes out.
facts.
Yeah.
Gable says, "My name is Gable Stevenson, and I want the WWE title."
Yeah.
Takes it on his first night. Now,
I can see
we'll
that.
I can
we'll
see
be
that.
cool with it. Actual wrestling fans who like, who know
Pulling out a Paige
kayfabe,
and AJ
know
Lee.
realistic.
I see it. That works.
Like it's realistic. It's like Gable Stevenson is a legitimate badass.
And
Yes.
you just went toe to toe with Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
He's gonna have
Like
some
it would
fatigue.
make
Yeah.
if he takes the title off Roman, it would be great.
Yeah.
But I already know the internet's gonna be like, why are the outsiders always winning in wrestling?
Yeah.
Ronda wins the title,
You know what?
Brock wins the title, and now freaking Gable Stevenson.
Here's the
Where's
thing,
my
though.
5'5" vanilla midget who does super kicks
Wow.
at Canadian Destroyers?
He's not wrong.
Here's the
like-
thing with that.
it's
Then
like-
it makes Roman look weaker than Becky when she was Becky
But
2
like,
belts.
it's Gable Stevenson. Like
I know.
He's like only
No,
lost
I agree
twice.
with you. I agree.
Hey, I'm glad.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
But,
agree.
like,
it's like, you know what
An
I'm saying?
outsider looking at this, like, how could Roman not do that?
Yeah.
But Becky did it for
But
X
like,
amount of
but
days.
it makes sense with Becky and Charlotte and Ronda there.
Yeah.
So.
Look, I don't think I
And the way she beat Ronda was like not even real. So it's
Yeah.
like it was.
I
where they
agree
all
with
did the
him.
submissions.
I disagree with that. It would make Roman look weaker than Becky because, in my opinion, nothing could make
no,
Roman
like
look
Roman's
weaker
been
than
champion
Becky
for
Lynch.
6. We don't need him to be double
No,
champion.
and plus, well, here's the thing because we've
I'm
seen.
gonna
I don't
build
know.
off of it. I'm gonna build off.
Yeah,
Go
I don't
for
know
it.
if you guys have seen this, but like there have been snapshots of like the new belt,
In Frisco,
In
yes,
Frisco,
I saw
where
that.
it's
the unified belt.
the unified thing.
I'm
swear to-
gonna say this right. I think
If they don't do that, then yeah, Gable
know
will
what?
show up and take
if
the
if
WWE
they don't
belt.
do that, then WWE belt will go back to Gable. And I think that's just such a great guy to have it. Just imagine the matches he would have with Kevin Owens, the matches he would have with Seth
Oh, he would-
Rollins, the
I
matches he
can
would have.
see. I mean, he's going to
like,
be the next Brock.
Raw
anyway.
would have a SmackDown 6.
You know
Raw
what
would
they
have
might
like
do?
a like a
And you know what? The reason why I like your point, if they have 2 belts and Gable takes 1, is because in the idea of storytelling, Roman conquered the old Lesnar. He has to face the new one.
That's
new
good.
one
He
beats
mentored
him.
him.
And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Then you do another title versus title at Money in the Bank, but Reigns win. Like not even a title versus title, maybe just
Yeah.
maybe. Well, you haven't taken my Universal title.
Yeah.
But you know what's gonna happen? They're probably gonna have the Money in the Bank match happen first. Oh, they'll do it one of 2 ways. You know how whenever we see Rumble, it's like they always start with like this Rumble, or they'll start with a match, and then you're like, okay, Brock Lesnar's gonna enter the Rumble. They might, if they do it that way, they might have that champion versus champion. Winner loses that. The loser of that match will go into the.
You know what I'm terrified about?
What?
Because Brock is, he's advertised to be Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
I hope. You know what? If his first rivalry is against him and Gable, great.
I think it's great.
Great rivalry. Gable comes out at the end, and Brock is like on the floor, and Gable picks him up, and he just hits him with something, and he introduces himself to the world. That's a great debut for him. One
They
of the best-
might do that.
That's a great
because
debut.
he's going to be the new Brock, so he has to
So,
take
yeah.
the old one
So
out.
you know
yeah.
what?
Are they
If you
gonna
have
make
a
him-
rivalry where like two, because he's going to be a backlash,
Yeah.
he's going to be so I think maybe a WrestleMania backlash match between him and Roman, Gable Stevenson, or maybe Gable versus Roman and Brock messes him up. Somewhere on those two, and then you have a big money match, a Money in the Bank, because it's going to be Allegiant Stadium, baby. That's an $80,000 seat stadium.
I agree.
You need heavyweight matchups, and you know
Yes.
what? I don't think it goes bigger than Gable Stevenson, Brock Lesnar, and you know what? Again, the WrestleMania card is so fluid right now.
Yeah.
Anything could happen. Hell, Cody Rhodes could be like, I don't even want to sign up anymore. Gable Stevenson versus Rollins. You know, we could get anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So why, in your opinion, since we're at different, why do you feel like people are so negative about this WrestleMania?
Because we're in the peak of indie wrestling again. We're having another indie boom. And again, as the guy who's been photographing like indie stars, I'm hearing them tell me like there's a big indie boom going on. And I think that AEW is getting more popular and more fans are, we're aging. We're getting older. Our demographic, here's the genius thing about WWE. We grew up with WWE in 2006, 2007 and all that, so, and we're a really big generation.
Yes.
And they're really genius because they've kept us in for so long, but AEW has all the guys that we liked when we were kids. AEW is doing what TNA did with Attitude Era stuff.
That is very
but
true, yeah.
very differently.
Yeah.
They're using them as a, hey, you never got to see CM Punk versus this guy. You never got to see Daniel Bryan versus this guy. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's
Right.
like, and that's kind of like what's going on is like WWE has been in so many controversies and then the releases and all that. And it's just like people right now are tired of WWE and they're tired of the company. So I just feel like everyone's hating on WWE just because it's the thing to do.
Pretty much,
It's
yeah.
the thing to do.
It's
It's
the
because
new
back in
trend.
like 2010, we all hated WWE on the internet because it was Super Cena. It was, and TNA was better. And we're back at that again.
Yeah,
back
we
at
are.
that. And it's not that everyone hates WWE. I'm at a part of the internet where I have like sane wrestling fans on my timeline.
Same.
I've been doing that. I do cleansings of like toxic fans, but I do have a lot of arguments online, and I always go, other than saying that WWE's kitty, why do you hate WWE? And they never have a real reason.
They
It's-
don't.
It's always the booking. If it's not, like, I'm telling you, not the booking. You know what? WWE booking has never been amazing. It's been
It
good.
really has. You're
It-
right, because when I watched a couple of the Dark Sides, which I'm going to watch all of those at some point because it's a really great series, you see WWE's booking has not changed. Their style has not
It
changed.
hasn't.
They're booking NXT like they booked WWF in the
Yeah.
80s.
Yeah.
It's not anything different.
It
But the
isn't.
reality of it is, it's like you said, people want to hate on the WWE because they don't like Vince personally,
Yeah.
or
It's
they
just-
don't like the
they've
company
been in so many
personally.
Just a
controversies.
Yeah, I
trend.
mean, which, if we're being honest, when you get as big as the WWE is, you're going to be in them. Now, what they were is subject to your taste.
Here's what made no sense to me, right? Why did WWE get so much controversy for releasing superstars during a pandemic when they get paid for 3 months doing nothing? Like, I'm like, if anything,
Because fans like to complain.
yeah, like they're like, oh, they got fired during the pandemic, and I'm gonna actually, you know what? This is a perfect way to tell one of my standpoints. Wrestling media is one of the most brainwashing forms of media out there because it
is very true.
It doesn't even depend if the podcaster is good, if they know how to word their opinions. I have no experience in wrestling. I just got into wrestling photography a couple of months ago. I became a fan again last year, and yet the way I speak, the way I hold myself, y'all believe me. I don't know half the crap I'm talking about sometimes, you know? But
I do the same. When I started
when
I started listening to Cornette a couple years ago, and I started learning more about the business.
when I watched What Culture, and when I watched Wrestling with Regret,
you
and
feel
when I watched like all those like Cultaholic, I hated WWE. But when I started watching other channels that were just talking about bad wrestling in general, your Botchamanias, your Ring of the Hawks, I'm like, oh my god, wrestling is so funny, wrestling is so cool, because. And I've watched, and there's the guy on Cultaholic, the guy on What Culture right now, the main guy with I hate him, the guy with the glasses. Not Simon Miller. I love Simon Miller.
No, I love Simon.
But the guy with the glasses and the brown hair, oh my god,
I'm trying to think, who is that?
I don't know, but he always has to crap on WWE in his videos, or crap on a wrestler he doesn't like, and he's single-handedly changing the opinion that all these future wrestling fans, all these current wrestling fans have of the company WWE and of wrestlers. I mean, why the heck have we gotten such a resurgence in HBK hate recently? It's because they've been crapping on HBK. Have you noticed?
Oh, because of the Dax Harwood interview.
It's hilarious that Cultaholic, right? They claim to love AEW and they claim to not watch WWE, but they only make WWE content. They only report about WWE.
Because the reality of it is, and I know the answer to that because Cornette talked about it because he gets hate, which he laughs at because he was a manager in the 70s. But he gets hate on his stuff sometimes because he was like, oh, all you do is knock AEW. You don't say anything bad about the WWE when the WWE stuff gets more views.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, of course it's going to.
It is.
And that's the thing. For me, this
we always hear about how much WWE sucks. And when AEW sucks, it gets swept under the rug,
Exactly.
The Big Swole situation is, I mean, let's focus on that.
We
that
should.
was bad.
But
And
everybody's like, she wasn't a top star, so it doesn't matter what she says.
What Max Caster said about Simone Biles. I mean, great thing that AEW did a great job, but still, the controversy wasn't even that big. But let's say if Vince McMahon did the same things, it would be on mainstream news.
The amount of heat that they got, because Caster has brought up stuff like rape and stuff like that. WWE has their heels, which in my opinion is a good move. Even though it's in bad taste. When Orton told Ray that Eddie was dead, stuff like that.
Remember when MJF made fun of Brian Pillman Jr.'s mom?
Yes.
And then everyone was like, oh, that's so savage. But then we'll crap on WWE for what Paige did to Charlotte's brother. And I know Charlotte didn't know about her brother being said like that. And I know in the past, but it's if we're going to be oh, MJF is so salty, lol, he's so awesome because he cusses people off and he says whatever he wants to, but then get mad at WWE for doing the same thing.
That's what I'm saying,
makes no
man.
sense to me.
MJF can go, hey, Pillman. But Randy Orton can go, yeah, Eddie's in hell. And people are like, that was so bad.
Too far.
That was too far.
That was too far.
It was he's a heel and he's trying to get heat. If you want to get heat, this is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
But why is that too far? Because and that's my thing. And like you said with the contract thing, Impact treats their wrestlers worse than WWE does because there are so many guys like AJ Styles, Karrion Kross, Scarlett that are like, bro, they did not give us any money we asked for.
And then the thing is that people just laugh at that because it's Impact, right? But it's Impact.
He's not
you
wrong.
Expect it. You expect that. But
because it's Impact.
I feel like it's really annoying that WWE's put on this if they mess up, you got to hear about that for months. You got to hear about that for years, But if AEW messes up, it's talked about for a week or two, and then it's oh, but they're not going to do this again, and then they do it again.
Yeah.
And then, and that's the thing. I like both companies. I just think wrestling news media is so...
It really...
It's because when I hear people talk about WWE negatively, I'm like, that's not true. That's just you're just regurgitating...
Getting what you hear.
And I'm going to say this. I like Meltzer. I used to hate Meltzer. I think now that he's just come down to, I'm going to just make reports. He's been better.
Yeah.
When he does his whole, I'm gonna do my opinion on wrestling. It's like, Meltzer, you grew up watching Japanese wrestling. No matter what, you're never gonna like WWE because you grew up with All Japan Wrestling in the 80s, which I'm sorry was the best era of wrestling in Japan, was the 80s and 90s.
Oh,
like,
without a doubt.
When everything was critically acclaimed. Yeah, no joke. It's like if I grew up watching Godfather movies and having the Criterion collection instead of Netflix.
Yeah.
And one day I go, oh man, I want to go watch Netflix, and I'm like, gee, Tall Girl just sucks. It's nothing like The Godfather. It's like, yeah, of course, because this is aimed at a different audience.
Look at Meltzer's Superstar of the Year and his observers in the 90s. It's mostly guys from Japan,
and that's okay. That's
no, that's fine.
And that's the thing is that people take, and that's why now like Melton, like, oh, he just reports news and he likes Japanese wrestling. That's his thing, you know. People just take the word of Adam Blampier, Adam Pacitti. They take their word as it's the truth, and that's the thing is, wrestling YouTubers and wrestling news media, they don't understand how much power they have in persuading people into thinking what. Because I remember I was told you should like this guy, you should like this guy, and I liked those guys. But then I was like, I don't like Neville. Neville sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pac's character. What is Pac's character? But like, it doesn't make sense. What is your character about? Oh, I'm a jerk. I'm a big meanie.
Who loses a lot. But no, like, seriously, and to echo your point, I know I've said his name like 3 times, but no, this is how it really was for me. When I used to listen, because I still listen to it now, like shoot interviews, like Steen and stuff, and they would talk about Cornette, and they'd be like, oh, that guy's just nasty and old and rotten, and he just wants us to be in the 70s and in the 80s. He doesn't get it. We've changed. And I heard Omega's opinion on Cornette before I heard Cornette's opinion of Omega, where Omega was like, yeah, he's a cancer of the business, and the sooner he can leave it, the better we'll be. And then I was like, oh, yeah, I hate Cornette. And I didn't even know anything about him. And I just was like, yeah, Kenny Omega's the best wrestler in the world. And then I started listening to him, and I started listening to Cornette's reasons. And I formed my own opinions like I always do, but I started agreeing with him with the way I would like to see stuff presented. And then I was like, bro, everybody wants to label this guy because, like Jose said, they're just saying he's saying stuff that people don't want to hear, and they want to run towards people who echo what they think.
Yeah,
and that's to be honest, that's all wrestling opinion
is. That's not
is.
just wrestling. That's just people in general.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Yeah, exactly.
We love echo chambers.
They like to echo. That's why, and I'm going to put these guys over. I love talking to Russo and Jose and Daniel because we all have our own opinions on stuff, but we can all be like, you know what, man, you made a good point. But there are just so many of the IWC who just feel like if you like anything WWE, like I saw this today. Someone criticized the Rosa Britt Baker steel cage match. They were like, this is like garbage indie stuff. I wasn't feeling it. Just his opinion, right?
Yeah.
And then someone was like, well, if you're a fan of Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, you can't have an opinion.
That makes
like what?
The thing is, they want to brainwash you to believe what they think.
Like what?
We can have our opinion. There's nothing wrong with
You
that.
can like the Jericho Appreciation Society. I can hate it.
I mean, can all disagree.
Exactly.
It's so weird, and like I'm gonna have to say it, but like I kind of blame Punk for all this. I'm gonna say
he's got a point.
I kind of blame Punk for all this because, listen, I miss that when a wrestler would get fired by WWE, they would just get fired and just go on their life, right?
Like they would probably knock him in promotions, like promos in other companies.
But he did set a tragic.
Punk did. Right? The pipe bomb was cool. It was a cool promo. I don't like PG wrestling, but
I don't think a lot of people do.
You know. I'm not going to make a whole rant about why I hate Santino Marella. He's aimed at kids, and I was 10, you know?
Oh, because he did it twice when he was feuding with The Rock, because I remember it's one of my favorite matches having Rock and Punk, because I'm a Rock mark. But anyway, I loved, I didn't like, I remember the promo that he did where he was like, an invisible child, little Jimmy, gets put on TV more than a workhorse like Tyson Kidd. I remember when he was saying stuff like that, and he was like, you have Brodus Clay, who should be a monster, but he's instead dancing and touching little children.
Have you ever thought that none of them were entertaining?
Like,
have you ever thought, Punk, that maybe none of the people you're naming were ever entertaining? Because Tyson Kidd, great wrestler, great booker.
But he's like Lance Storm.
But like,
good
what
God,
personality did he have?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Okay, I'm gonna
take more entertaining.
Like, I'm
gonna take 2 different promos here and compare the differences and why they were important. Austin's promo in ECW, when he got fired by WCW and he got to ECW the first time, and he cut that promo where he vented his frustrations. But you could still tell he means what he says. But
that's his character.
It's his character. Exactly.
Yeah, that's his
it was still in the confines of wrestling. Punk just went, okay, I'm just going to shoot.
Hi,
and then
Colt Cabana. And, like,
yeah.
and then the podcast. I mean, I can't believe that at the time when the Art of the Wrestling podcast came out, I didn't really care about it. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this won't be that big. And now looking back, that is an iconic moment in wrestling.
Yeah.
But it's what kickstarted this whole BS that we're in right now. It is the Trump election of, wrestling.
You're right, because every wrestling fan was saying CM Punk is saying what we've been trying to say, but we couldn't.
And it's
and it's just, I agree. Wow. See, this is why I like talking to Jose, because he makes me think Punk is to blame for this IWC stuff.
It's the blame. And I like Punk. Punk is in my top 10 favorite wrestlers of all time.
Same.
But I think he's not an awful person. I think he's very full of himself. I think he's very much, because I heard, I forgot which wrestler, but this wrestler was saying, screw CM Punk. Like,
a lot of people
screw CM Punk because Corey Graves. I
heard about that.
Like they came up together, and then Punk ditched him because you're too much of a WWE guy. Like, what type of incel baby booster BS is that?
Yeah.
Mister, you in the wrong promotion, so we can't be friends. Like, what are you, 8?
Yeah, that's the one thing about
Punk is a diva. And
There's funny, confidence and your ego getting the better of you.
Exactly.
I mean, to be fair, it's hard when you were that popular and you were like one of the top faces to kind of fight that. But at the same time, you kind of have to know your place
that's
a
the
little
one
bit.
thing.
Punk was popular. People loved Punk, but are you telling me, okay, I'm gonna say this right now.
Yeah.
The triple threat that he pitched at WrestleMania 29.
Yeah.
What a stupid idea. Because it would have made I mean, if we're going with the BS storyline that the WWE had at that moment, Punk, why are you throwing yourself in there? You don't have a reason to be in that match. You have no ill will. Oh, but Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson took my WWE championship away from me.
That was the same thing we thought when it was supposed to be like Becky and Ronda, and then like they threw Charlotte in there.
And it was lame. And people complained about that. But when Punk was saying, I should have got my triple threat main event.
Dude,
people
it's the
were
same
like,
thing.
oh my God.
And you're right, because people have been like, bro, they should have added him to that. No, they shouldn't have.
And then this time we add him, and then, you
No.
get your reaction.
If they add him, right, and he gets eliminated after 5 minutes like he said he wanted to be, imagine how mad the IWC would have been.
Yeah,
but it ruins his character even more.
And then he goes on to have match of the night with The Undertaker.
Yeah, would I rather, the main event in wrestling is bogus. It doesn't matter. It does not, I don't know why he's like a little kid with wrestling. It's fake. I'm sorry. It's fake. Like, it doesn't matter. None of this matters. You have to suspend my disbelief and make myself think you are a big enough star to be in the main event, right? You are a big enough star, but you had the best match of the night with the best angle of the whole freaking BS like pay-per-view.
He wants
with Undertaker.
That front and center WrestleMania.
But when you think of
poster.
WrestleMania 29, what do you think of? You don't think of Rock versus Cena. You think of Punk versus, like, again, twice in a lifetime, right? It was dumb. I will always say it. Twice in a lifetime should have been a once in a lifetime. It should have ended 28. Cena should have won. Even though at the time, I will say this, Rock winning was the right choice at the time.
Yeah.
But long term, with the 2020 vision we have now, Jesus, no, oh my God, it should have just been a one-time thing. Because you know what? Punk versus Cena, WrestleMania 29, main event. Way better main event. Way better, right? And then you have Punk versus Triple H, WrestleMania 30. I would have much rather have that than what we got eventually. I mean, here's the thing. Punk was mad that he was going to go up against Triple H at WrestleMania and was going to go over
the classic line, I don't need to wrestle you, you need to wrestle me.
No, you do need to wrestle Triple H because there was a storyline there that we never got closure with.
Yeah, he did kind of.
We never got that closure.
Yeah, because you don't like Hunter and you know Hunter doesn't like you. You left off with Hunter beating you at Night of Champions.
Imagine Triple H.
That would have been
and Punk.
See, once again, it's another one.
The build up.
That would have been right because Punk in the end would have gone over
and he would have gone over at Mania
instead of just Triple H just being over him at Night of Champions and everybody complains the Summer of Punk was just killed by Triple H.
It wasn't. Kevin Nash killed it. Kevin Nash.
Well, he slowly, briskly.
I watched WWE at the time, y'all. I think we're all forgetting things here. But imagine Punk, Triple H, Mania 30. You have this big blow-off match between the two guys that have always hit each other in the back, and you just get and Punk was supposed to go over. I don't know how many times you're about to go over Triple H. Like, oh my God. Like, and then, him leaving is what gave Daniel Bryan, his entire run. But I still think Daniel Bryan would have gotten that entire run if Instead it would have been.
He
like,
would have. The fans were too much behind
Yeah,
him for
it
it
was-
to just be okay. Punk's gone. We
Yeah.
need a new underdog.
Exactly.
Daniel. No, it would have always. It
Here's the
was
thing.
always going to be
Before
Daniel.
Batista came back, it was supposed to be Punk winning that Rumble.
Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, it sucks. It really does suck what happened to Punk, especially because Batista. I'm sorry, but how is Batista over? I've never met a Batista fan. I've never met someone who goes, man, I've never seen a Batista match that made me go, oh, that was a great match. He's
Batista, and again, learns from James E. Giving him all the credit. Batista is a guy you have to have in that main event where the main event is going to be a power match that's probably going to
Yeah.
last 10 minutes.
Because
He's not someone who's going to give you a quality match. He's not someone who's going to give you a
Worked at
quality
WrestleMania
promo.
30 when Bryan won it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's not. Batista's just not. Batista never was because the image that he put on television with Dave Batista, he's that way now. But when he was in OVW, shyest guy you'll ever see in a room. And he was just one of those guys where he wanted to be James Bond, but he didn't get the chance to be that type of animal James Bond character until he met Triple H and they started working out together and became friends.
If I were to rebook WrestleMania 30, I'd keep every match the same except the Triple Threat and the Triple H match. I would replace the Triple H match with Triple H versus Punk,
Yeah.
and I would replace Bryan versus the three against. It would be Bryan versus Cena. Then I would have that'd be the main event, and then I would have Randy Orton versus Batista just in the mid card.
Yeah,
That would've been-
I would.
If we were to rebook everything, because I'm gonna say WrestleMania 30, because here's the funny thing though, every WrestleMania that everyone says is gonna suck balls always turns out to be great, right?
Yeah.
WrestleMania 30 had the sloppiest booking in history for the build-up. I mean, Bryan was at it last minute, and then
But
we
we're about to
had
see with this one. We have 9 matches to fill, so
yeah, and this
We'll
one's
see.
going crazy. This one, we're in the literal craziest moment.
Dude,
of wrestling.
everybody who's complaining about this Mania will pop at the stuff that happens. at this
Exactly.
Mania.
I honestly think Reigns and Lesnar will put on a good match because
Yeah.
Reigns his in-ring ability already good has gotten better.
Skyrocket.
Please, it just depends on what Brock wants to do. Because if Reigns wants to have a 30-minute match, Reigns will have a 30-minute match.
I think
It's just-
Lesnar is willing to. He just seems so much happier these
It's
days.
just but
and-
how the matches have been going. Reigns squashed Goldberg in 6 minutes. Reigns how long was the Reign Balor match? Was that a long match?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, that's good. Okay, I guess
remember,
Reigns-
he
he
had
didn't-
his revive. In
'Cause
that
I-
moment.
Yeah, he didn't squash. Well, he wasn't gonna squash
didn't
Ben, but he
Because
didn't.
squash.
Reigns against Rollins was 15 minutes. I think
And that was a great match.
And that was a great match. Great match.
match of the
And
year.
that was a match to start
but
off the whole show.
It kind of went into a finisher spam match, and I
Yeah.
I hate those matches. I can't
and
do
finisher spam
spams.
matches. If it's Lesnar, yeah, I get a finisher spam match, but
When you hit 5, 6 F5s
I-
and finisher
it lo-
spam,
yeah.
I'm like,
that was the problem with his first match with Reigns at 31 before Rollins came.
31. No, that match was amazing.
No,
He
I'm not
beat
saying it
the
was.
hell
No,
out
I'm
of
not saying it
Reigns.
wasn't. I mean, that's where Suplex
Oh,
City
man,
came
yeah.
from.
No,
I'm not
yeah.
saying it wasn't good. It was.
No. Suplex City came from Cena. SummerSlam.
SummerSlam,
The
yeah, it was
14
SummerSlam.
Germans that
The
Cena took.
14, yeah.
I can tell you all about that. I was on Instagram the day that they
Yeah.
made SummerSlam, and I remember just everyone going,
you know
what did I just watch?
I used to be bored of it because I'd be like, oh, there's 1. Oh, there's 9.
You did it?
Now I'm like, okay.
It's better in person.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that. Did you go
At 30?
Have you seen Lesnar live?
yeah.
So okay, then you agree.
You get it?
I-
It's much better.
No,
in
but
person.
I used to be bored of
I get
the
that too.
repeated, and then now I'm like, you know what? It kind of grew on me. I was like,
Well, I like
kinda
what- I
it.
like-
Lesnar's character grew on me.
Yeah.
The whole the final boss of wrestling, it grew on me.
I've been a Lesnar fan since
I love his new character. To me,
2002
this
because
is-
in the sense of I liked the segments that he would be in, when he pushed Gowan down the stairs. What a heel! And Lesnar already came off that way anyway.
It's crazy to me how he had insanely athletic 30-minute, hour-long
Match
5-star
Kurt
match.
Angle,
Yeah, when you look back
Guerrero.
then,
And now
and
he's
then,
10 minutes is as most I'll go, buddy.
But think about
Age,
all the
man.
backstage stuff we're getting about him now, which we never did. Natalia's talking about he gives us
that's what I'm
advice
telling you.
on
He's
our
smoking
matches.
weed.
He has to be.
He's smoking weed. He comes
He
back.
found
He's
the
all
kush.
happy. He's hanging out with Riddle.
And he said he never would.
And he said never would. Buddy, I bet Riddle was like,
He's
hey,
watching-
Hey, Brock, take a hit of this.
And I'm sorry, but he's watching Natalia matches.
Exactly.
He's got to
Poor
be taking-
Tyson
Oh,
kid.
okay.
He's taking something.
And
Tyson
now,
kid.
time to the sad news.
Yeah.
2 big things happened. Big E's neck injury.
Yeah.
And then Scott Hall dying.
Dying.
I mentioned him earlier, but How did y'all react to this? Because I had
Which
to Scott
one?
Hall's death, and then we'll get on to Big E.
I think
because Scott Hall's death to me was so weird, because to me the golden generation was like, when you grew up in wrestling as a wrestling fan in the 2000s, you always heard about the golden generation. You always heard about your Razor Ramones, your Attitude Era. You hear about
But to
it.
go back and look at it,
And it's great. It's so cool because it's
Yeah.
such a unique time, and you start realizing, oh crap, that the 90s was this long ago.
Yeah.
Scott Hall's death was the one death where I go, yeah, Ultimate Warrior died, but Ultimate Warrior was like an 80s guy. Ultimate Warrior was like, every guy that died that was a 90s guy, they died young.
yeah.
Scott Hall died 63 years old.
Yeah.
It made me go like,
Plus, I think, despite the whole curtain call thing, which we'll probably get into that, people didn't like Warrior. People loved Scott Hall.
Scott Hall. I mean, Razor Ramon. I mean,
Obviously, I think everybody's favorite, beside the outsider gimmick,
I mean, no, Razor Ramon was by far
the best one.
of the most creative.
this
heels ever.
is how I feel. This is my take. Scott Hall, you can say what you want about his personal life, because I watched the E60 on him that ESPN did in 2011, and I also watched the documentary by his, I can't remember his name.
It's just like your whole life you knew he was gonna die, but you weren't ready for him to die. And when he died, I just sat. I was like, man, it wasn't the alcoholism, it wasn't the drugs, it was him falling
down.
over.
But I think
that's what makes it so much worse. Is like, you're like, oh my god.
But I also think a lot of people were low key kind of relieved, because Scott is kind of like
he was
Mick
on life support. Dude.
Scott, no, not even just before that.
Before that, he was okay.
Yeah, before that, he was okay. But it was also like people, because I heard Nash talk about it, he was like, Scott would always be in so much pain. And it's kind of like Mick, where Mick, you see him, you're like, bro, that looks uncomfortable to be Mick Foley.
Look at Terry. Look at Terry Funk.
Look
at Terry Funk. He has Alzheimer's and dementia, and he's like sitting in a retirement home. His wife is dead.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there all day rotting away. And Mick says he shows up, and Terry doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah, but it's
and then you see how Terry moves his hands like this, and you're like, Terry's got like 3 years left. But like Scott Hall.
But like Scott, for me, when I because I'm pretty sure we're all gonna do this. When I first got introduced to Razor Ramon, I remember I was surfing through the internet, and because I was watching Undertaker 90s promos and Macho Man and Ultimate Warrior.
Those promos have a weird, like, I don't know how to say it, but they have an aura to them.
100%.
They have an aura where, like, it feels legendary.
It is.
And back in the 2000s YouTube. I mean, when you're a wrestling fan in the 2000s, I mean, you watch most of your wrestling through YouTube, right? So those 90s promos were the only promos that were really around. So you were kind of growing up watching Razor Ramon promos, not knowing who the hell this guy was, but man, were you?
I also think with 90s promos, in the early 90s, obviously, I think it's one of those. Okay, because I watched Macho Man and The Undertaker, and and again, it's like we were talking about the booking and the promo style. When you think about Macho Man's promos, and you think he's going like, "We're gonna go up in the space, brother, yeah, and we're gonna come," and you're like, okay, this doesn't make a lick of sense, but because the way he's saying it, because it's the Macho Man, because
but you know what? It's funny. Scott Hall wasn't that either.
No, he wasn't.
Scott Hall, I'm gonna say this. Scott Hall was an awful goddamn actor. He was awful. He could not act. The chicas are for fun. But here's the thing. But the way he delivered, because you can even hear that he was faking the act. You could hear it on him, right?
Yeah,
but the way
he's a Cuban immigrant, and that
he isn't even Cuban. He's white. The way he delivered his lines was just so perfect because he couldn't act.
Not Apollo being Nigerian out of nowhere.
Yeah, no,
but Apollo Crews is Nigerian.
He is, but they gave him the accent out of nowhere. Kofi lost his.
But Scott Hall's different.
He was a bad actor.
He was a bad
because when you actually watch the promos and you realize, okay, he's repeating everything, every single time.
You know
but
what?
It's that delivery
that
makes
you
there
to act. That's the thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
No, he wasn't,
and he was the bad guy. I mean, the way he wrestled him was so different.
I'm the bad guy. But I mean, out of the clique, he was the best worker. Shawn Michaels was the best performer, but Razor was the best worker.
He was Triple H?
Not at that point. Triple H wasn't the best worker.
At that point, I thought all time.
No, all time. I think Hunter will be the best worker.
Yeah,
can work with anybody.
Yeah, but Shawn will be, because Hunter always worked with the guys who drew the money. Triple H, drew money, but not Rock or Austin money.
Triple H never drew the money Rock and Austin did, but Triple H was the perfect bad guy. That's what
I'm saying. He worked with the guys that drew the money.
Here, Randy, your RKO is over. Let me be a bad guy in your story.
Yeah.
Right now. Hey, Daniel, you're really over with the crowd, and they need someone
Let me
for
be
you
a
to
bad
beat
guy
up.
for you. But no,
that's the great thing about him. He's a genius.
with Razor,
It's like how Cody is too.
yeah, with Razor, I feel like he had such a very good mind for the business, and Scott really did, because for those of you who don't know, which we're very deep wrestling fans, so we did, he helped Sting get the Crow gimmick.
Well, yeah, but he also told Mysterio to take his mask off.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah.
not that type of
Greatest
genius.
wrestling mind. I mean, I'll say
No,
this.
no,
I'll
not
say
the
this.
greatest, but one of, in the sense of character development.
Character development, yeah. He was, I mean, it's a shame that he never got to Triple H a company, because I feel like if he were the one to be booking TNA, if he were the one to be taking care of the talent, I think TNA would have come out a lot better with him and Nash instead of Jeff Jarrett. Just because, like, if you really look at it, Scott Hall never gave himself a world title.
No.
He had the chance to in WCW multiple times. Kevin Nash was a world champion. Hulk Hogan was a world champion, you know. But Nash never, Hall never cared about that. He liked the mid-card title. He really did. He liked the mid-card title. He liked the tag team title. Scott Hall and Kevin Nash are my favorite tag team ever. The Outsiders.
Okay.
Because I love what they did for the business. Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were like the best lazy wrestlers ever. I mean,
Especially Nash.
I mean, Nash told WCW, "I'm not working Thunder," and he's like, "Why? I only work 52 dates a year."
Nash was very lazy. And then before Cena had the 5 moves of doom, what was Nash? What was the?
Oh, Nash had 2 moves of doom.
The 2 moves of doom.
The jackknife and the big boot. Like that was
and stuff like that. But I think for Scott Hall, I think this is where I think when a wrestler dies, people will take things a little too far in their compliments. Yeah. People have been like, he was such, they were all like, he was an inspiration to a lot of people.
My question is,
and stuff like that. And it's like, okay.
Bringing up wrestling media, what culture and Cultaholic have always crapped on Scott Hall?
That's what I'm saying.
They've always crapped on Scott Hall, and they always crapped on WCW, and they were like, this was dumb, this is stupid, Razor Ramon was racist. And then he dies, and Razor Ramon was iconic.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so many people have that. Scott Hall went over their heads, and then he's like, he was an inspiration to so many. What?
It's like, what are you talking about? Like, wrestlers are coming out and saying, yeah, he's an inspiration, because these are wrestlers. Like, yeah, these are wrestlers. They can say that they watched
him.
How are you news people like talking about? I love Scott Hall, but you never talked.
No,
you ranked Owen Hart versus Bret Hart over friggin' Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10. What do you mean?
Yeah, no.
Like, I'm sorry. Y'all were riding Bret Hart
stamp
all this time. and then now Razor Ramon dies, and you're like, I'm tired of playing with Bret. I want to play with Razor.
Yeah.
I
think his legacy is one to be remembered for sure.
Yeah. It's a sad one as well.
Yeah, and I think Scott Hall, if we want to give him something, I won't say he was the greatest wrestler to never win the world title.
No, he was. He is. Who's the greatest to never win the world title then? The most memorable character, the most memorable in-ring performer who has had a 5-star match, who never won a world championship in any company that is a full-fledged company. It's Razor Ramon.
Yeah.
It's Scott Hall. No one on the level of him has been so over and yet never win a world title. Oh, but what about Miro? Shut up. Rusev Day was not over. I'm gonna say it. Rusev Day was not over. It wasn't over. It was only weird internet fans. I'm sorry, it wasn't over.
He's not wrong.
I went to see Rusev.
It doesn't matter. The fans were popping. It was number one selling.
No, it wasn't.
I
went to WWE.
I give Jose
SmackDown
that. Unless you were an internet fan,
it wasn't
anything
over.
with Rusev and Lana getting
over. It was never over.
I was always okay.
Miro isn't even over.
I was always with Rusev from day one, even when he pulled out the tank at WrestleMania.
Boring. I'm sorry.
You have the
That's Andrade
with
now.
This
Andrade's
huge beast
boring the
who
crap
literally
out of
like
he was so generic. He was just
the one thing I
typical
didn't like was like the
European
Bulgaria like tattoo he has, and then it said he's from Russia. I'm like, what are you doing?
And then they went Bulgaria like anybody would know where that was.
He was so boring.
Beside me, because I actually loved Rusev.
Even Miro is boring.
Miro is, I will not lie.
Oh, my
God's
Miro
favorite champion. Okay, Miro,
but
weirdo.
Beside me, I did enjoy the Rusev Day, but yes,
that's good.
I mean, you know what?
I'm glad.
You'll take it any way you can. You don't need to timestamp that. You can take whatever pop you can get. 'Cause I mean, it's better than having.
But
no
here's
pop
a
at all.
saying that a guy, I think Cornette said this. If you have a guy, if people pop at your finishing move or your catchphrase, that's okay. If you have someone pop when your theme song comes out, that's when you got it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Rusev
facts.
had his little catchphrases and stuff. When you heard bum, 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 no one cheered. No one booed. You know, you hear bam, 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 bam. You know, no one gave two craps about Rusev and Lana after 2014. And I'm sorry. I'm glad you like Rusev.
You know what the thing is? He did have a decline where they just
Yeah,
didn't know what to do with
I
him.
mean, like,
and there's nothing.
when a wrestler gets booked bad, it's not because like, oh, dude, they're being mishandled. It's genuinely because you're not making us money.
I'm just saying. You're telling
to
me
get to
the
get
beginning of the match, you don't hear the whole stadium.
I never heard Happy Rusev dance when I went to a SmackDown.
You never, dude.
Hey,
went
bro,
there
if
and I've
he
heard
went to a
Rusev
Smack
because
Day.
where were you?
Where'd
Where'd you go see Rusev?
Chicago.
Of course it's. Of course, people were saying Happy Rusev Day in Chicago. For those that don't know, I'm gonna mansplain Chicago to what it means to wrestling
let's
fans.
see what he does here.
Because Chicago is indie haven.
It is.
It is
kind of.
It is, like, AM. Jesus. But it is by far so dumb that that like people in Chicago hate
Anybody.
WWE.
I
They
went
hate
there in
WWE,
Chicago.
but they hate WWE, but they will go sell out the WWE shows. Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
But that's the-
I
but-
saw it in Chicago,
yes,
but
because-
anywhere
because-
else,
because
they were
Rusev
also
is-
doing the same.
Rusev was big with the indie fans. Like that
Yeah.
was
And to go off your point, like it's not okay. And I know Jose's gonna look at me because we talked about this earlier. But besides Cornette, I occasionally also listen to Conan and Disco Inferno's show. And what they talked about, because Kyle O'Reilly talked to like every other wrestler who goes to AEW from WWE, he's like, oh, management, blah blah blah. And they made the point, they were like, bro, you can't always blame management
You
for the
can't.
way. And to our point, when we're
Kyle
talking about
O'Reilly.
WWE,
I'm sorry, Kyle O'Reilly had no personality. He never had. His personality is his in-ring work. But like his promos, like when you think of the like who carried Undisputed Era, right? Who carried it? Adam Cole.
baby,
Adam Cole.
baby.
And then like that's
Just
why.
like Pop, you can't forget the smoke when you say Pop.
Yeah, it's
there
like
you go.
it-
Can't
it-
get out
it's
of the
like-
baby.
Look at Roderick Strong. Roderick Strong is like the new age Dean Malenko.
That is so true.
He's a new
you
age
look
Dean
at
Malenko.
Roderick and he's
He looks
Dean Malenko.
tough. He has a great mouth. He's a good worker. Kyle O'Reilly, great worker, but what's his he's kind of dorky. His name's Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly. How am I supposed to take you serious?
I saw
You know,
people, this is
Bobby
good-
Fish. How am I supposed to take you serious?
Yeah, no, I think with Kyle, but like you said, he is that. Here's the thing, and this is the truest thing about wrestling and how the fans have changed and the wrestlers, guys like, because you're seeing it more coming back with guys like Carmelo Hayes and Braun Breaker and stuff like that. They're not nerds. They're not gamers at all.
They're
like
athletes.
like Austin.
Thank God, finally.
Like Austin was, or like The Rock, they were not nerds. You couldn't call Austin The Rock a nerd.
No, The Rock is a nerd.
No, he obviously no.
Yeah.
When you look into
But he
like,
was
he's
a
a
Oh,
nerd.
no, when you look at them, you're like, yeah. When you look at the AEW roster, you just
Nerds!
You see nerds. That's
And
that's
I'm a
the
nerd.
joke.
Yeah, and that's the thing. These are guys who play video games and go get action figures with Ethan Page on his stupid show and
Keith
stuff
Lee
like
has
that.
a gaming channel with his wife.
Yeah,
Like, I
and
mean-
stuff like that. They're
I mean,
nerds.
I mean, yeah.
WWE has the same.
But like
Xavier
up,
Woods,
up, down. But look at Xavier Woods. Look how he's booked like a nerd.
Literally.
He's booked like a
That dude's a
dork.
mess. just
Xavier
in
Woods comes
general.
out. He's like, I'm in King of Woods. I play D&D.
And the problem is with
Like,
Woods
what
and
a
stuff like
freaking
that,
dork.
and what I learned, that none of that is like from
Like,
creative. That's him.
look at
That's
what-
literally
like,
him booking
Here's the
himself.
reason why Biggie was not over. Like, okay, this is a controversial take because of his neck injury. I love Biggie,
Yeah.
but he was not over when he was champion. Why? Because when you look at Biggie, you go, oh, this is the guy whose entrance background is a bunch of comic books.
I did not
It's
like the entrance. However, I do
It's
like
like-
him as an in-ring
He's
performer.
a incredible
I
ring
like him.
performer. I
Like,
mean,
I thought-
but I mean, Biggie worked best. Oh man, I hate saying this. I think I said earlier a few weeks back I didn't like Biggie heel. I actually like Biggie heel. I rewatched
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Biggie heel because he has the look. But the thing is that we've
He
known
has-
Biggie too long to be
Yeah.
the boom.
When you
Yeah.
stick them with the New Day and they got unicorn horns and they're
Yeah.
coming
It'll
out of
make
the
And
it
that was
cereal
great
box.
at the time because they were literally parodying everything people hated.
Yeah.
And that was great.
You have to
Dude,
do
I
it.
went
You
to
have-
you were there too. 32
They got a
Yeah.
pop.
Bootio
Hey.
shirts
By the way,
everywhere.
they got a louder pop than Rusev did when when he came to Dallas.
And
Facts. But here's the thing with Biggie, and that's a good segue to the neck injury and
Yeah.
that issue with Biggie.
I thought I just saw someone's career end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
heel Biggie when he was Ziggler's heavy. If he would have, you have to change at some point. If there was a way he could go back to that,
You know what's funny?
that would be amazing.
I feel like what changed Biggie's whole look because if you were on because wrestling Instagram in 2013, 2014 goated. There was no drama, there was no beef.
No.
Every argument was like, maybe I'm just nostalgic, but I just remember a lot more sane fans. I remember just
that's true.
A lot more discourse, not less war.
Not everybody started.
You
well,
know,
I think it's because Impact was
Impact was going down.
going down again.
WWE was getting better.
They were getting better. There was no AEW.
Ring of
It was
Honor
the
was
PWG. Ring of Honor was dope, but nobody was trying to.
Yeah.
Nobody was like.
So like it was that point, right? So, you know, when I was watching like, you know, that era, like Biggie on Instagram was just so funny. I mean, look at Biggie's old 2013 Instagram videos.
Yeah.
Biggie's very funny.
They're hilarious. They're hilarious. And so it's like,
I think it's weird to see the funny body. Like, he's a funny dude, but he has like the body of like
but like,
Lesnar
how do we
or-
sell this guy to be
as
on the
like-
same
and here's
level
my
as Bobby
thing.
Lashley?
Lashley.
or Roman
My
Reigns?
thing is, you're gonna have to do what you just did to Roman. You know, where you like change the music, maybe not give him a manager, but you make him like that kind of person. Maybe not like a heel, but if you kind of rework him a little bit and build him back up, if he even comes back after this injury, that's where I think, you know, you might see, you know, him hold another title and maybe face Roman.
I
if we
think the
get
thing
there.
with Big E, and here's how Roman Reigns was able to convey this tribal chief head of the table character better, in my opinion, is because Joanna Hawaii, right? It's going back to those old days.
I will be right back real quick.
Yeah.
You continue.
It's another thing with Austin and Rock, in the sense of Roman Reigns is Joe Anoa'i turned up.
Yeah.
Joe Anoa'i really wears those type of shoes. He does have that he does talk that certain way. He does have that commanding presence. He's obviously a nicer guy, and he does have a personality. So when he was able to take that and turn it into his actual, what he wants Roman Reigns to be, then that gets over. Big E, everybody knows he's a nerd. And I mean, I'm a nerd, but you're wearing Attack on Titan hat, so we're all nerds. But you know what I mean?
Wait, here, let me help you out. Ready? Oh, you can't see the bag. We got the Dragon Ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at that. Yeah. Okay.
So when we say here on the show, when we say like wrestlers are nerds, we're not saying it as in a bad way, but we have to be honest here, right? There has to be some legitimacy. There's a way to okay, for example, The Rock, as we just talked about, dude, he's doing DC movies. You know, he is a nerd like all of us are. But he doesn't present himself in the ring like that. Cena likes anime and stuff too. He does. I mean, okay, you can kind of say he does because he's corny, but still.
All right.
But that's just
Cena is a nerd, but
Yeah,
I have to leave, guys.
Yeah.
I forgot it's 2:37 and I got something to do at 2:50. I'm so sorry. I got to go back home.
yeah,
I'll be back whenever. Thank you guys for having me on here.
yeah. Appreciate it, man.
Y'all have a good one.
You too, dude.
Everything, man.
But no, to wrap things up, the reality of it is wrestling changes a lot. And, you know, it may not always be for the better, but change does happen. So,
Well, there you have it.
yeah.
An hour of wrestling. And we'll have
Logan,
another
I
hour
feel like
next
it.
week for WrestleMania preview. And then
There you
probably
go.
maybe I'll just let y'all do the whole show of the
I
Monday
think
after
you
WrestleMania.
should. I think you should.
we'll
Because
see.
there's no way we're going to condense that in an hour.
We'll see that we'll talk about that, discuss that. Thank you so much for listening to the main events. Big thanks to Dan Bala and Mark Lambert for letting us use the Green Studio deep in the heart of Denton, Texas.
Boom.
And we'll see y'all next week. Bye. Have a beautiful time.